The jealous, whatever jealous on it, that's the.
I don't know, I just know it's good.
Yep. Yeah, I know that.
We'll go ahead and call this meeting of December 12th, or December 16th, 2024 to order. We'll start by having our Vice Mayor lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance and invocation, please.
Most holy and gracious God, we come before you, O God, once more and again to tell you thank you. We thank you, O God, for this day. We thank you for this hour. We thank you for this assembly, everyone joined here together today. And, oh God, we just ask you to help us, oh God, clear our hearts and clear our minds, that we will make the right decisions, that which is best for the city of Lake City. Bless Lake City as a whole. Bless every department head. Bless everyone in the city, oh God. Our hands are open, oh God, that you will help us in whatever endeavor that we face, oh God. We just help you. We thank you for safety. We thank you for your protection. We just thank you for it all. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you very much, Vice Mayor Young. Ms. Cannon, will you please call the roll?
Councilmember Jernigan?
Present.
Councilmember Harris?
Present.
Councilmember Young?
Yes.
Councilmember Carter?
Present.
Mayor Walker?
Present.
City Manager Rosenthal?
Here.
City Attorney Martin?
Here.
Chief Butler?
Here.
Very good, thank you. All right, I'll read a statement. Ladies and gentlemen, the Lake City Council has opened its public meeting since 1968. The city code has prohibited any person from making personal, impertinent, or slanderous remarks or becoming boisterous, thank you, while addressing the city council. Yelling or making audible comments from the audience constitutes boisterous conduct. Such conduct will not be tolerated. There is only one approved manner of addressing the city council, that is to be recognized and then speak from the podium. As a reminder, persons are not openly to carry a handgun or carry a concealed weapon or firearm while the governing body is in this meeting. Failure to abide by the rules of decorum will result in removal from the meeting. All right, we'll move on to approval of the agenda. I'm gonna make a change here. I would like to move our proclamations to after approval of the consent agenda. If you don't mind, just to allow our guests to make it here for them.
Mayor, I'd like to have, to ask that we pull two items from the consent agenda, move to the regular agenda, items 7 and 10.
Okay. All right, and I need a motion to approve.
I move to approve the agenda with those changes.
Okay.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Thank you very much. Any discussion? Hearing none. Ms. Cannon, will you call the roll?
Mr. Carter?
Yay.
Ms. Young? Yes. Mr. Jernigan? Mr. Jernigan? Ms. Harris?
Yes.
Mayor Walker?
Yes. All right. Now we'll move on to our public participation, which we have several folks have signed up. Mr. Lofstrom, you're up first.
Hey, my name is Ben Lofstrom. I only have one comment and asked to see if we could remove these tables, especially when you're giving out proclamations or having groups come up here. Several times I've sat in the audience and I had to move back for one, so they didn't, get in my way and step on me. For two, so I wouldn't be in the pictures because I'm not really like part of the group. But yet in the past, they would all stand in front of there. And then the council members would be in the back, the flag would be in the back. And I always thought that looked better in a picture than me tucked in my seat trying to get out of the picture. So that's my only comment. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, next. Mr. Tim Atkinson.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council and staff. Appreciate the opportunity to speak to you. My name's Tim Atkinson, 205 Southeast Hillside Parkway, citizen of the city for 44 years. On September 3rd, I sent a memo as concerned citizen to the members of the Lakeshore Hospital Authority Board of Trustees. I recommended that the board deny Meridian's proposal to require the hospital building. That memo obviously did not change the course of history. I'm going to try another tack. I wish to share the reasons for that recommendation with you. First, it should be understood that Meridian's proposed use will not be a hospital. Their proposal calls for adult and children's crisis stabilization units, or CSUs, and for 30 in-service or 30 inpatient services beds. Either CSUs or inpatient psychiatric services are licensed in Florida as hospitals. In fact, the Florida Agency for Healthcare Administration defines inpatient psychiatric services as extended residential treatment. In other words, there will be no licensed hospital. No doubt, our area needs more mental health facilities like the ones Meridian proposes, but do they need to be on Lake DeSoto, adjacent to the Rotary Playground, the Darby Pavilion and Amphitheater, 4 blocks from our revitalized business district, not to mention adjacent to dense residential neighborhoods? Secondly, the burden on the city's police department posed by Meridian's current programs at its Michigan Avenue facility should be considered, and I think known by the public. During the past year, LCPD responded to 492 incidents at Meridian's Michigan Avenue facilities. That's an average of 1.4 calls per day. The incidents involving disturbances and fights assisting other departments in battery numbered 241 and averaged over 2 officers per incident. All of those incidents reduced the capacity of the department to provide public safety for residents of the city, not to mention the drain on city finances. Another consideration is the lack of public support for locating Meridian's programs in the community hospital, the former community hospital. To my knowledge, there have been only 2 residents and the editor of the reporter who have come forward to support Meridian's proposal. Not even Meridian's local board member came forward to support the proposal. On the other hand, there have been numerous citizens who
Stop just for a second. I will allow you to finish 30 seconds. We'll start the timer, Michelle. And this will follow for anybody who runs over the 3 minutes going forward. You will also have 30
Thank
seconds.
you very much. To cap it off, 2/3 of the voters in the recent straw poll.
Wait till she gets us started.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry, I have to be strict on this. Kenna's gonna keep it on her phone, so just listen out for it. I appreciate your patience with us.
Thank you.
Please.
To cap it off, 2/3 of the voters in the recent straw poll voted for dissolving the Lakeshore Hospital Authority. Obviously, the residents of the county and the city want somebody else to be the steward of the taxpayers' assets at Lakeshore. I urge the city council and the county commission to work together in making the will of the people a reality before the horse is out of the barn. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Atkinson. All right. Up next, we have Mr. Adam. Sorry, I can't quite see your last name, so if you'll come forward.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Adam Patton. I'm the general manager of I-75 Toyota of Lake City. I wanted to take this time to come in and introduce myself. I've been here only since August 27th. I transferred down, originally born and raised in a small town in eastern Kentucky. our ownership group. Recently purchased this dealership from the Morgan Automotive Group. We're now under ownership of the MAP Group, MAP Automotive LLC, a Christian-based group. We actually just had our first inaugural Bible study today at the dealership. Going forward, we do plan on having those every other Monday, so open invitation to anybody that would like to attend. I did want to take a few moments just to come and introduce myself and talk a little bit about the dealership and what we're trying to do. Basically, anyone that has shopped for a car before, you might have had that kind of off-put experience, a little bit of the anxiety of ownership. It's no secret that car dealerships are typically one of the most distrusted businesses out there, and it's unfortunate. What we're trying to do is try to take some of those anxieties, some of those bad tastes out of some people's mouths, and we're just trying to do things transparently, trying to do things right, trying to do right by the community. Again, only being here since August, I'm just trying to get my name out there in the community, trying to visit with some of the local businesses, trying to get some things going with them, animal shelters, trying to do some donations, and just trying to become a better part of the community. I recently spent some time up in Detroit. We do have 2 dealerships up in the Michigan area. I was only up there for a brief amount of time, and they transferred me down here. This is going to be home for me. This city is something that, the small town, the tight-knit community is something that I was raised in. So it's something that whenever I was transferred down here, I told the owners, I said, I want this to be my permanent home. I want this to be a place where I can set down roots and where I can try to make an impact in both the dealership side of it and the community side of it. So what I would like to do is invite everyone who has, had a bad experience with car dealerships to come talk to us, come give us a try. And this is not a sales pitch by any measures. This is just me talking, just saying that I truly plan to do something different than what you may be used to with some other experiences. I've had, before I got into the automotive side of things, I've had a few different careers. Most recently, before this, I was a correctional officer, worked for the Federal Bureau of Prisons. Worked in 2 different states, 2 different facilities, Texas and Kentucky. Done a lot of time working in there, and honestly, it was very eye-opening for what you can see. A lot of walks of life come in there. I've had a lot of people that have been in for, numerous different charges, and seen some of those people actually out after they've rehabilitated themselves. So, that line of work was something that meant a lot to me, because I know that all people that go in there might truly not be truly bad, but they just might have had a bad break. And I apply that kind of mentality that I have to customers that come into the car dealership. Not everybody that comes in there is looking for problems, looking for trouble. They just might be looking for someone who cares, and that's what we try to do.
Thank you, Mr. Patton.
Mr. Mayor, you mind if I ask a question, please?
What I was gonna do, Mr. Jernigan, if you don't mind, if you go for it. No, go for it.
Okay. So you the new GM there at the Toyota dealership, am I correct?
Yes, sir.
Coming to Lake City, this is a small town, don't get me wrong, and this is what we want. The businesses to want to be here and have a very, very good experience. So we're gonna do all we can to help you be successful in what you got going on there at the I-75 Toyota, am I correct?
Yes, sir, correct.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Patton. Do you need, we'll give you 30 seconds more, because we're gonna be consistent. When she indicates that she's got it set, go for it.
Thank you. Just wanted to finish up by saying that we are actually in the process of moving to a new location off Commerce Drive, right behind the hospital. We do plan on starting construction there, hopefully early February, as long as everything works out, and then moving in a year from that date. So February 2026, the new location will be at Commerce Drive behind the hospital. So for now, you can come in and see layouts of the new dealership, but I'm very excited to get everything going. Very excited to be a part of this community. Very excited to be a part of Lake City. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Patton, we appreciate you.
Can I just say, Mayor, welcome, I just like to say welcome to Lake City. We appreciate your concern and most of all for offering your trust. Thank you so much. Looking forward to seeing you around.
Thank you.
Thanks, Al. All right, up next, Pastor Pamela Bowden.
Good evening, everyone. Nice to see you. This is just some information that I want to share of an event that we have at Trinity United Methodist Church. Let me step back and say my name is Pamela Bowden, Pastor Pamela Bowden. I'm pastor of Trinity United Methodist Church in New Hope United Methodist Church. We know that we're in the midst of the holidays, and if you don't know, look across the street and you'll see that we're right in the midst of the holidays. But we all know that not everybody is happy during the holidays. That we all think that everybody feels the fa la 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 and wants to sing joy to the world, but not everybody is there. So one of the worship services that we offer is specifically for those people who do not feel the joy of the holidays, and in fact some are mourning. I know several that are mourning because they lost family members or their loved ones during the year. So, excuse me, we offer a service of message of comfort and healing for that group, looking at the way of hope and moving from that place of grief to that place of hope, and hopefully we can offer that. This year we have the Anointed Singing Angels of Little Galilee that will be joining us to offer the beautiful music that they offer, a wonderful group of young men. And so it's a service that has consistently offered anyone who attends that they always leave with a greater sense of hope than when they walked in. I'm not asking you all to be the advertisement for us or to pass out the flyers, but I know that you all know your people in your community. And you may know, or someone may have called you and said, you know what, I am really having a tough time during the holiday. So if you know of that person, just hand one of these flyers, invite them, tell them to call me, and we'll be happy to reach out to them and welcome them to our service. Any questions?
I'll make a comment. I think that it's absolutely right. Unfortunately, someone who sits up here at the dais lost someone this weekend. And it's a tough time of year for a lot of people. So thank you for providing that to the community.
It's our
Appreciate you.
joy. Mm-hmm.
Well, we do have a question actually, Ms. Bowden, if you don't mind.
Ms. Bowden, is this sort of like a church service or?
It is, it's a worship service, but open to everyone in the community is the other. It's open to everyone, all are welcome, all are invited. And so it's similar to a worship service, but specifically geared. You know how sometimes we may say, you know, I know you lost someone and blah, blah, we may give them 2 minutes. This whole service is dedicated to people who have lost someone.
Thank you, Pastor Bowden. Oh, Mr. Jernigan, please.
Mayor, you mind if I ask one more question? Are you gonna be the MC that day?
Grover Lewis is actually gonna be the MC, but I'll be offering the message of comfort and hope.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Very good. Last but certainly not least, Mr. Bowden, Mr. Linnell Bowden.
Mayor Council, it's kind of strange when you find your wife and she's a pastor, so I can't be as rough as I intended to be. But thank you so very much. I got a couple things I want to point out. I want to revisit waste person, done then, but I'd be remiss if I didn't express this to you all, how disappointed I was and how the process played out. It may have been a good idea to negotiate the contract. It's a bad idea to not include the public in the process. I stood before you at that meeting. I raised the issue about it. Nobody even mentioned the fact that the contract had been renegotiated. Nobody mentioned the fact that the recycling not going to be picked up. In fact, my next door neighbor turned 98 yesterday. She had recycling out this weekend. I forgot to tell her that it wouldn't be picked up. So I think that we deserve as the public to know these kind of things. I don't think they should have been in the consent agenda. I think, Mr. Matter, consent agenda cannot become a tool to silence the public. If it's in the consent agenda and someone wants to speak to it, it shouldn't stay until I just get my comment. It should become a part of the public conversation. If you get what I'm saying. I mean, it was a serious insult to me personally as a citizen that the city would eliminate roadside recycling pickups and not inform me that's going to take place. Secondly, Mr. Mayor and Council, the only 3 locations you can drop it off now is at the landfill, at the fairground, and at Fort White. But those of us who live on the northeast end of the lake city, it's 4.5 miles from my house to the one out to the fairground. It's 6.1 miles to the one at the landfill. I recycle. If I did that twice a week, I'm using my gas They drive back and forth. I also suggest to the city council, ask the city manager, whoever, to go back to the waste pro and see can you get a location within the inner city. It's not fair for us, for me in particular, to have to drive all the way over there to the landfill or out there to the fairground to put my recycling in. The other thing I want to mention about doing public comments is that I go down to Wilson Park often. I take my grandbaby there. I've mentioned to before, there needs to be a bathroom there. Toddlers have to go to the bathroom, and it seems to have to go to the bathroom. I take my grandson there. I want to stay for an hour. I need to go to the restroom. I can't stay because there's no restroom for me to use. It makes no sense to me not to have a restroom there at Wilson Park, where the corners got the playground there. Last but not least, Salvation Park. I know there's been some discussion about this dirt at their playground. I talked to someone in safety person. Dirt is not safe. It's nasty. When the kids fall, they get his hand all in the dirt. They take it home, they drink it in the car. It's good for the beach, but it's not good for a toddler playground. So I would encourage the city council to look at those things. But most importantly, I think it's really insulting to do what you did with waste pro and not involve the public in the process.
Would you like the other 30 seconds?
Not really.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Mr. Bowden. All right. Now close public participation for the evening. And we'll move on to approval of the consent agenda.
So approved, Mayor.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Do we have any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for, Ms. Tanner, will you call the roll?
Mr. Jernigan?
Yes.
Mr. Carter?
Yay.
Ms. Young? Yes. Ms. Harris? Yes. Mayor Walker?
Yes. All right. We moved these two proclamations to after this item, so this will be our first revision. All right. So we have two proclamations that we're doing tonight, both of which are here with us tonight, and that's our state delegation, Ms. Jennifer Bradley, Senator Jennifer Bradley, and Representative Chuck Brandon. Just want to recognize them from the dais as champions of our area and their districts. So I will proceed. I wanted to say that before I started reading these because there are a lot of words here, and I may pass out if I don't take enough breaths while I do it. So we'll start with Senator Jennifer Bradley. In recognition of Senator Jennifer Bradley, whereas in 2020, Jennifer Bradley was elected to the Florida Senate and has been re-elected subsequently, and whereas Senator Bradley is a champion for District 6, which encompasses Baker, Bradford, Clay, Columbia, Gilchrist, Union, and a portion of Alachua County. And whereas Senator Bradley has chaired several committees, such as the Community Affairs Committee, Select Subcommittee on Congressional Reappointment, Appropriations Committee on Criminal and Civil Justice, and Regulated Industries Committee during her tenure. And whereas Senator Bradley plays an integral role in funding major Lake City and Columbia County projects. A few examples are, in 2021, Florida Gateway College Lusty Campus Public Safety Facility for $652,628, and Florida Gateway College Replacement Buildings 8 and 9 for $6,148,625. In 2022, Lake City Westside Fire Station for $500,000, and North Florida Mega Industrial Parkway for $2,959,000. In 2023, North Florida Mega Industrial Park Water Plant for $5,716,000. Southwest Bascom Norris Road Improvements for $1,237,500. Columbia County and the Florida Gateway Fairgrounds for $985,000. Lake City Public Safety Building Generator and HVAC Replacement for $422,000. In 2024, the Columbia County Sports Complex Phase 1 for $750,000. Ellisville I-75 Interchange / US 441 Improvement Project of $3 million. Northwest Bell Street Extension, $1 million. And Enforcement EMS Communication Tower for $800,000. And whereas the City of Lake City, by this recognition, wishes to publicly acknowledge and express our sincere appreciation to Senator Bradley for her unwavering support and remarkable impact on the local community. The City of Lake City is looking forward to working with you in the upcoming legislative year. Now, therefore, I, Noah Walker, Mayor of the City of Lake City of Florida, and on behalf of the members of the City Council, do hereby recognize Senator Bradley for her dedicated public service and support to the citizens of Lake City. Ms. Bradley, if you'll join me up front. Stand right there. There's a little key to the city. We appreciate all that you've done for the area. We hope that you'll hang this in your office and tell us.
Yes, I'll say just a few quick words.
Yeah, absolutely.
Good evening, and thank you so very much. This is evidence of our really great working relationship we've had since I was elected in 2020. And those relationships across my 7 counties is what enables me to be effective in Tallahassee, is to hear from you and work together. We have our delegation meeting coming up January 8th. I know you always participate and share with us what you need, what the needs are. And that's so important. So I look forward to that, so we can add to the list and meet needs, whether it be roads or college or fire stations or any of the other issues that can help make Lake City thrive. It's an honor to be your senator. I wish everyone a very Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and thank you.
All right. This one's slightly longer. In recognition of Representative Chuck Brannon, whereas in 2018, Chuck Brannon was elected to the Florida House of Representatives and has been re-elected subsequently, and whereas Representative Brannon is a champion of District 10, which encompasses Baker, Bradford, Columbia, Union, and a portion of Alachua County. And whereas Representative Brannon has chaired many committees, such as the Gaming Regulation Committee, Criminal Justice and Public Safety Committee, Justice Appropriations Committee, and the Judiciary Committee during his tenure. And whereas Representative Brannon has played an integral role in funding major Lake City, Columbia County projects. A few examples are, in 2019, the North Florida Mega Industrial Park Rail Extension for $750,000. In 2021, Florida Gateway College Ulusty Campus Public Safety Facility, $652,628, and Florida Gateway College replacements of Building 8 and 9 for $6,148,625. In 2022, Lake City Westside Fire Station, $500,000, and North Florida Mega Industrial Parkway for $2,959,000. In 2023, North Florida Mega Industrial Park Water Plant for $5,716,000. Southwest Bascom Norris Road improvements for $1,237,500. Columbia County and Florida Gateway Fairgrounds for $985,000. Lake City Public Safety Building Generator and HVAC replacement for $422,000. In 2024, the Sports Complex Phase 1 for $750,000. Ellisville I-75 Interchange with US 41 Improvement Project for $3 million. Northwest Bell Street Extension for $1 million. And Enforcement/EMS Tower for $800,000. And whereas the City of Lake City, by this recognition, wishes to publicly acknowledge and express our sincere appreciation to Representative Brannon for his unwavering support and remarkable impact on the local community. And the City of Lake City is looking forward to working with you in the upcoming legislative year. Now, therefore, I, Noah Walker, Mayor of the City of Lake City of Florida, and on behalf of the members of the City Council, do hereby recognize Representative Chuck Brannon for his dedicated service and support to the citizens of Lake City. If you'll join me up front. Everybody Mr. Brandon's been with us just a couple more years from Ms. Bradley, but they've both been great champions. We appreciate all they do. Thank you so much. Appreciate you guys. Would you like to say something?
Yeah.
Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate all of you and your staff, except the two characters on the ends now. I keep my eye on them. I got Mr. Burton here, used to work with me at the sheriff's office, and then your city attorney's my fraternity brother over there, so I'll keep them in the corner of my eye there. They're both great friends. And Miss Young, she's got some Baker County roots and blood too. Lots of friendly faces here. Also, I want to recognize Senator Rob Bradley. He's here tonight. And I was thinking as you were reading those things, I was thinking of some of the things Rob and I did. Not to add to the list, but and forgive me if I give credit to the wrong person, but there was always a Bradley name on the end of these projects, and I can think of about four. A $16 million STEM building at the college, a couple of times $1 million for the little city of Fort White to improve their water. They got a terrible water system down there. And then we've gotten about $2.3 million one time for the fairgrounds out there. And of course, this last time too, Senator Bradley championed a project that I signed on to also was the new, and I don't know if they broke ground yet, but the new maintenance and crime lab for the sheriff's office out there. So we certainly on the House side could not be successful without our Senate partners. They are true leaders, and I really appreciate both of them. They mean a lot to me, and they're great friends to our family. But I'll close by saying this. I always say a blind hog finds an acorn every once in a while. So we've been lucky and found a few acorns for y'all. But that's what you elect us for. If we can't pass good policy, and then when the opportunity arises, bring home dollars to the district, then I don't know what we're up there for. That's what we do. And I always feel a little embarrassed when I get something because I feel like that's my job. But I appreciate it. It means a lot to me. And I do have 2 more years in office. This is my last term, and we'll work hard and continue to work hard, and hopefully we'll be able to bring home some more things to the city of Lake City and the Columbia County as a whole. But I appreciate all y'all. Lots of friends. Good to see y'all. Thank y'all. Merry Christmas.
And just to follow up on that, Senator Rob Bradley is in the room. If you'll stand up so that everybody can see it. He's done a lot for our area as well, so we really appreciate you. This is the first time I believe that this council's ever formally recognized our state delegation, so we apologize that we weren't doing it back then, but we do appreciate you coming tonight.
everybody.
Merry Christmas.
Good to see you all.
And you wanted to say something, Councilwoman?
Mr. Brandon, can I have one of your cards, please?
You can.
Might as well get you before you get
Yeah.
I'll bring it to you right now.
I have a question. Mr. Brandon, did I hear you say last time? Representative,
Mhm.
last time?
You term out.
Yeah, this is my
Term
last
out.
term, yeah.
Okay.
So we got 2
It
years.
takes you about 6 or 7 years to figure out what's going on, then you term out.
So you're saying you're going home?
I don't have any big grandiose plans.
Okay, gotcha.
I'll answer it that way, but I appreciate it.
Okay, thank you.
I got a question too.
Yeah, go ahead, Mr. Jordan.
Hey, Mr. Brandon, we having a major problem. It's not in my district. I think it's in Ms. Young's district with the railroad. I know you have a lot of safety concerns about the community. Can you or Ms. Bradley at least look into that matter, because it appears every note, every phone call, every letter is not being answered in a timely fashion. So is there any way possible that you can look into that and get with these railroad companies and take care of the safety issue or safety concern that the citizens have here in Lake City? And it's on the north side over here, if I'm not mistaken. I appreciate that if you can.
And I can probably guess what you're telling, because I've seen it in other places, is probably where the cross ties
starting to deteriorate and you got bolts
Yes.
sticking up. And I'm sure Senator Bradley has too. I've been to their headquarters personally, and sometimes it takes me several times, but we have gotten some repaired in another county. But, I don't know, and I'm not knocking the railroad company by any means, but, it's a smaller railroad company than CSX, obviously, so, I don't know what the issue, we've had issues in several cases, not just in Columbia, but, it got to the point that I finally, quit calling and went over there, knocked on the door, went inside myself, and finally got one of the crossings in another county fixed, so we'll stay on with that, but
Thank you
that's
so
not
much.
the first time I've heard that.
All right, thank you so much. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Representative and Senator. We appreciate you guys for coming out tonight. All right, we're moving on to what we pulled out of our consent agenda, and we'll start with item number 7. So this was a City Council Resolution number 2024-144, a resolution of the City of Lake City, Florida, adopting the evaluation and tabulation of responses to the certain invitation to bid number 002-2025. Yeah, Mr. Martin.
I was happy.
Save me some breath,
You were doing a good
please.
job.
Please.
Mr. Mayor, council members, you have before you resolution number 2024-144, resolution of the City of Lake City, Florida, adopting the evaluation and tabulation of responses to that certain invitation to bid number 002-2025 for fire extinguisher services, accepting the bid from Fire Shield Fire Protection LLC, a Florida limited liability company, as the lowest responsive bid, approving the agreement with said vendor, making certain findings of fact in support thereof, recognizing the authority of the mayor to execute and bind the city's said agreement, directing the mayor to execute and bind the city's said agreement, repealing all prior resolutions in conflict, and providing an effective date should the council wish to adopt this resolution. An appropriate motion would be to adopt resolution number 2024-144 as read by title only.
All right. I will go ahead and open up I'll go ahead and open up public comments on this if nobody signed up for it. So that's the last call, closing public comments. Comments of the council, we're actually gonna start, we're gonna go in order of the District 10, 12, 13, and 14 in numeric order, so we'll start with you, Councilwoman. Do you have any comments you'd like to make on this item?
I don't think so.
Councilwoman Harris. Councilman James Carter.
I do not.
Councilman Ricky Jernigan.
No, sir.
All right, hearing no discussion, I'll ask for a motion.
Move to approve resolution 2024-144.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, Ms. Cannon, please call the roll.
Carter,
Yay.
Ms. Harris,
Yes.
Ms. Young,
Yes.
Mr. Jernigan,
Yes.
Mayor Walker.
Yes. Next, we have the City Council Resolution number 2024-147. Mr. Martin,
Thank you,
would you
Mr.
read that
Mayor.
for me?
Council members, you have before you resolution number 2024-147, a resolution of the City of Lake City, Florida, adopting the evaluation and tabulation of responses to that certain invitation to bid number 003-2025 for the State Road 47 Infrastructure Extensions Project, accepting the bid from Florida Fill and Grading, Inc., Florida Corporation as the lowest responsive bid, approving the agreement with said vendor, making certain findings of fact in support thereof, recognizing the authority of the mayor to execute and bind the city's said agreement, directing the mayor to execute and bind the city's said agreement, repealing all prior resolutions in conflict, and providing an effective date. Should the council wish to adopt this resolution, an appropriate motion would be to adopt resolution number 2024-147 as read by title only.
Right. We don't have anybody signed up for public comment on this one either. It was removed from the consent agenda, so I don't see anybody moving to the podium. So we'll go ahead and
Yeah.
close. Yes.
I would just like to mention, Mayor, that we want to thank the commissioners of Columbia County. We want to thank the county administrator and the county attorney. They're giving us $500,000 on this project so that we can complete it as a grant. And that's another sign of the county and the city working together to make things happen. And we appreciate the help.
That is a great thing. We will grow better together. All right, no public comments. Comments to the council. I'm gonna do a reverse order this time, so Councilman Jernigan. All right, Councilman Carter.
I wanted to have that taken off the agenda, primarily to ask the manager to give us that little bit of an update there, so that's good. I just want to highlight and make sure the citizens know how smooth the relationship is getting in the county, and we're glad to work with them.
Councilwoman Harris. Vice Mayor Young.
I'm good, thank you.
Okay, all right, we'll go ahead and call for a motion, to approve this resolution.
Move to approve resolution 2024-147.
We have a motion and a second. Do we have any further discussion? Hearing none, Ms. Cam, please call the roll.
Mr. Carter?
Yay.
Ms. Harris?
Yes.
Ms. Young?
Yes.
Mr. Jernigan?
Yes.
Mayor Walker?
Yes. Great. All right. Now I think we're back to a regularly scheduled portion of this, which is our presentation from Mr. Thomas.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and council members. Excuse me. I want to take a few moments to talk to you about an initiative that we've been working on related to affordable housing and how accessory dwelling units and tiny homes could be one step in an overall program to improve affordable housing, the availability of affordable housing in Lake City. So we'll just go over some definitions about tiny homes and why they're needed, the benefits of tiny homes and ADUs, accessory dwelling units. Pardon me if I use jargon. Remind me to not use abbreviations. And then we'll get into the meat of it. So accessory dwelling units, most of you are probably familiar with the terms that are used for those, more granny flats, garden cottages, and that's other names for them. But basically, it's on an existing residential property where there's already a primary residence, and then you can have either a freestanding separate residence in the yard somewhere, or you can have an addition. The picture on the bottom shows you an addition that's been placed on an existing home. And basically, they allow you to have a second residence, whether for a family member or in certain cases rentals. It can be used to increase the city's rental stock. And they in this instance, whereas normally if you had a bedroom or something on an existing residence, you would not be able to have a kitchen, for instance, to live independently in that unit. Accessory dwelling units do allow for that. And so it's a completely separate residence. It could be owner or tenant occupied, and by that, you may have a family where the kids have grown and left the nest, so to speak, and then you've got the parents that are still there. They may decide to live in the accessory dwelling unit and rent out the larger home because they don't need all the space anymore, that kind of thing. But it is one of the tenets of the proposed ordinance that we'll bring forward, if you like this idea, that the owner does occupy one of the two units. And then they're typically size-wise, they're somewhere around 400 to 1,100 square foot in size as just a generalized average. And then switching over to tiny homes. So tiny homes a tiny home could actually serve as an accessory dwelling unit, but they also can be freestanding. Florida Building Code defines tiny homes anywhere from 200 to 400 square feet, and they can stand on the lot independently. It could be an accessory dwelling unit, like I said. It could be on its own, in its own lot somewhere. You can have small neighborhoods of tiny homes. And a lot of communities have adopted that. And you can even have them as tiny homes on wheels, although those are generally considered to be, by the state, could be recreational vehicles. And they can be site-built, modular, or manufactured in a factory. Some differences, an ADU is accessory to a primary dwelling unit. Again, they're about 400 to 1,100 square feet, and they're not mobile. They're fixed, they're site-built generally. And tiny homes could be either an accessory or freestanding, again, generally 200 to 400 feet. and in certain instances can be mobile. So what is the need? I've kind of already mentioned it, where this can be a means to increase the housing stock, the rental stock, and potentially at least affordable housing stock. You've got a huge percentage of the population living in single-family homes, and so potentially there's a lot of areas that could implement something like this in the state to increase the housing stock in an affordable manner. Again, it does lower the cost because you've already got the primary residence there. Number of persons per household has been declining, the size of the household are declining, and while that only looks like a fraction of a person difference, because we're talking about averages, you've got homes that maybe only have 1 or 2 people now, again, as children age out and leave, and their household is smaller, but then you still have the family homes. There is a higher demand of late for smaller housing options rather than the typical 3-bedroom, 2-bath, single-family unit. And over almost 2 million homes in Florida, households are considered cost burden. And the definition of cost burden is if you're spending over 40% or more of your take-home pay on housing, that's considered cost burden. Now, your FHA and other lending criteria generally limit you to 30% for qualifying. And so if you're over 30% and you're up in the 40% range, you're considered cost burden, and that just basically makes it harder for you to find a place that you can afford to live while you're actually working. It's as I said, it's burden. So much of your disposable income is going towards your housing expense. You don't have anything left over for the rest of life's needs. 3/4 of low-income house renters are cost burdened, and actually of those 3/4, a substantial percent are actually excessively cost burdened. By 2030, there'll be an extra 3.5 million people in the state of Florida. You're going to need somewhere to live. So some of the values, again, smart growth tool for building more housing where there's already infrastructure in place. It does result in generally some mixed income neighborhoods. It spreads the population out more, creates positive benefits for employment. You can be closer to where you live, and it can be incorporated into existing built-out neighborhoods. Some of the barriers, Euclidean zoning, which is the kind of the grid pattern that you see in those places, don't always allow for this. It could be allowed in those residential areas, and some owner occupancy restrictions also sometimes are barriers. Some other barriers, long-term rental use restrictions, and as of right use, which is something that we would probably propose as part of the ordinance, would be to make them allowable by right in certain areas. And then impact fees. For affordable housing, the state law allows you to actually waive the impact fees on affordable housing units. And then size, density, and other structural requirements. Some communities don't allow tiny homes because of the size. And then parking requirements. These are all things, though, that there are answers to that if the council likes the concept, the staff will be proposing as part of the overall ordinance. Obviously in Lake City, you're all well aware that the majority of housing is in single family. Affordable housing is a huge need in Lake City. The households earning $35,000 or less, it's going to be incredibly hard to find a place to live. This could fit some of that need. And so we would, again, council's will, we would come back with some proposals to modify the comprehensive plan and the land development regulations to facilitate accessory dwelling units and tiny homes. And we've already talked about no impact fees or possibility to make it more affordable for the developers to bring those in. Rental issue, that can be an issue sometimes, but we'd only be proposing if they rent it out long-term with place to construct as affordable housing. That would be to encourage providing affordable units. Another recommendation would be not to exceed 40% of the primary residence. And they would need to be compatibly designed, architecturally designed, so that they fit with the district and fit with the house that the lot they're on. And it may or may not, as we talked about, be attached to the primary residence. Allows extra income for the owners. It becomes more usable property, and it helps to create community, increases density in primarily your downtown and more urbanized areas, and of course provides more affordable housing. As a landlord, you having an ADU in your house would be a bit of a change. Loss of some of the yard space, of course, you gotta put it somewhere. And then you might have neighborhood objections, although if you look at some of the most successful communities around the country, a lot of them have just evolved to have ADUs without actually even having accessory dwelling unit regulations on the books. So generally, staff does think it would be a beneficial program. Hopefully you'll agree. Have less energy costs compared to conventional homes. And with the City of Lake City allowing tiny homes to be placed or constructed in existing lots, they're too small for conventional homes. You'll have some empty lots that would otherwise be unbuildable that could now be put into productive use as residential. And so you kind of envision, if you're doing a tiny home neighborhood somewhere in town, turning it into something that looks a little bit more like that, with small tiny homes up and down the streets. So, kind of talked fast, but don't have any questions or comments or input?
The way that we'll move now is council comments and questions before public comments, just because we don't have any propositions on the floor. We're gonna do the same thing that we did, just go in numerical order. So we'll start with you, Vice Mayor Young.
I think all of my questions pretty much has been answered. I have a good idea of what's happening here.
Councilwoman Harris.
I wanna ask about the, water and electrical hookup. If, say for instance, if I have some extra room on my property and I get a put on my property, will that be connected to mine, or will it have to?
Mr. Mayor, in general, staff would recommend that they have a separate metering system and separate connection, because, there may be instances where you would want to connect it to the existing one, but in general, that would be because if it ever converted to a rental in the future, say you started with a family member living there, then you would be more conducive to being just connected to yours. But eventually, or if you turned the property over and sold it someday and they wanted to rent it out, it would be more beneficial to the owner to be able to have a separate metering system so that they can account for the extra energy use and utility usage for the separate unit.
So are you suggesting, say for instance, on, in District 12, we have some empty lots. You're suggesting that the tiny houses be put in between regular homes and all? Would that change?
If I may, I don't think we're suggesting anything right now. We're talking about showing you what's available. We're gonna come back later if the council is so inclined to listen and give you some more specific details. Tonight, you were just looking at an overall view of the types of homes, tiny homes versus ADUs, and get an idea of what you can do. Could you put this in your backyard, ADU? Absolutely.
Any other questions, Councilwoman?
Oh, wait.
Councilman Carter.
Well, I've talked to you guys down there in planning and zoning a lot about this stuff, and I've seen a couple of really good presentations from the League of Cities. I think that looking into shifting some of the zoning towards the ability for developers to create smaller spaces, mixed use and things like that have had a lot of success. Like I said, after seeing a really good presentation in South Florida last year, I read into this quite a bit. I think this stuff is tremendous. As a handful of examples, I think it's Austin who had a really good experience with this about 20 years ago when they lowered their, I could be wrong, maybe a different city in Texas, but I believe it's Austin. They had a really good experience with this when they lowered their minimum sizes to allow for this, and then started developing mixed use designations and things like that, so that you could potentially court developers who might want to build a development that's townhouse, residential, single family, row of tiny homes, kind of a blended use model. And I've also seen some communities in Florida that look really great with this stuff. And obviously, I think it would be a good idea, and probably lead to a pretty good increase in home stock over the next couple of decades. So I like it.
Councilman Jordan.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. A couple questions that I have. One would be, would the city own these tiny homes, the ADUs or whatever? Would the city own these homes, or like, for example, I would like to purchase one and put it in my backyard. So who would be the builder? And, you know, I see the dimensions and sizes and all this good stuff. But do we have a contractor out there that's certified to build a tiny home? And that's the first question. The second question is, I notice how we go to the left and we go to the right. We may go east, may go west or whatever. Have y'all considered like those tiny homes having like going up instead of out, like floors, first floor, second floor, third floor, things like that in those tiny homes? Have you considered that? And the next question, I'm gonna ask you all these questions at the same time, that way I don't have to say anything. Where did you get this idea from? Did you get it from Texas maybe? Where'd you get it from?
I will try to remember all three of those in order.
Okay.
For the first one, generally any contractor in Florida that's licensed to construct in the state of Florida is going to be qualified to build a tiny home or an ADU. And so there isn't necessarily, now there are some companies that specialize in tiny homes. That's kind of their niche that they operate in. And so we could seek those out if it was something. I don't believe that we're conceiving at this time that the city would own any of these. If the city was interested in that, it would probably be part of a larger, broader affordable housing initiative of some sort. But this is, as it's conceived here, primarily we're thinking it's owned by the existing property owner. Not that it couldn't be employed in some sort of an affordable housing program with the city. And I've already forgotten the second question. Sorry. Do you remember what it was, Michelle? Tiny homes are actually defined, an actual tiny home is defined now by the Florida Building Code. And so the only up that you can go in the definition in the Florida Building Code of a tiny home is for the loft area, for the sleeping area generally. And so they are limited in the Chapter 1 of the Florida Building Code to between 200 and 400 square feet. Anything over that, they still consider actually just to be a very small home in general. And so for vertical construction, probably wouldn't fit into that. Then you'd be looking at more like townhome or multifamily type arrangements that can go vertical. The numbers work to go vertical instead of horizontal. And then the third one was,
Where'd you get that idea?
the idea. This is something that's been spreading across the country, and so really some of the research came from the American Planning Association. Some of it may have come from other areas, but it's something that's kind of been happening all over the country as the housing, affordable housing especially, becomes harder and harder to come by, and prices have been going up and up. Looking at ways to broaden the housing stock, which overall, hopefully, at least if it doesn't bring down prices, at least holds them down slower in appreciation than they would have otherwise.
So you got that idea from across the country, just research, things like that?
Yes.
Okay.
If I may add, as Councilman Carter said, they were doing a lot of advertising and teaching and informing about this in our class in legal cities. So it is becoming very popular now. But one thing just crossed my mind. With it becoming as popular as it is, what does it do to the property value? Does it increase property value?
Ms. Mayor, in general, I believe it would increase property value because you're adding a second residence. You're number one, again, we recommend that you would be blending essentially the architecture design with the existing house or the neighborhood around it so that it didn't conflict. And it is an extra asset on the property, and so it should increase the value.
I'll ask you a question now. If we decided as a council to have you guys move forward with building out a program for this, what kind of limitations would you put on these?
I mean, as Mr. Mayor, as far as limitations, we would seek guidance, I guess, from the council is what kind of limitations you wanted, and then draft that into the proposed ordinance. There are options for small tiny home neighborhoods. A lot of communities use tiny homes neighborhoods as an infill. Like, you may have a vacant land that otherwise wouldn't be affordable to run utilities to because you only got one unit. The cost to extend those utilities is too high, but if you could do, say, 6 or 7 small tiny homes, then the numbers improve and it might be more feasible to run utilities. So it can be used as infill for parcels that otherwise would sit vacant.
We'll come back. What I'm going to do, we're going to run back, and for secondary questions, Vice Mayor Young, I'm going to ask you if you have any secondary questions for him.
Well, I kind of have a question as to your question.
So
When you say limitations.
my thoughts on that is how many?
Okay.
Because you don't want people building full-blown camps in their backyard. And you also don't want people building full-blown camps or mother-in-law suites in their front yard so that everybody else has to deal with the family that's moving in. You know what I mean? Those are my thoughts.
Okay, and I believe with having it set up as a separate dwelling, if I can say, then it has to have its own utilities, its own, what's my question? Then I think that will actually lower the number.
Yeah, and it won't be full-blown adoption right off the bat. Even if we had something in place today, it's still the cost of building the structure. But let's go. So, is that your second? Okay, Councilwoman Harris. Councilman Carter.
Just a question for clarification. As it stands right now, the way our codes are currently written, a lot of this stuff is not buildable, right? So that's the idea, is that we're hoping to maybe refresh some of these codes to free up some opportunity areas and things like that.
Mr. Mayor, that generally would be correct, yes. And as it is right now, you can do an addition to your house, but you're not supposed to put kitchen facilities in it. So you could stand on its own. Or if you build a house, a small house in the back, it's a guest house, but it, again, isn't supposed to have kitchen facilities where it stands on its own. And so make accommodations for that, and then also probably put some, as you mentioned, some limitations on tiny homes, how many you can put in. Generally, ADUs are conceived of as only one additional unit per residential unit.
Councilman Jernigan.
Oh, yes. I guess those acronyms that you use, ADU and tiny homes, this is what has been used in the past. We call it man cave. We call it man cave, am I correct? The people laughing at me like that's not the case, but most builders, they have the home, and then they build like a man cave that they can go to. Would that be similar to the man cave? However, it cannot be with a kitchen? Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes, sir. As it is right now, you would not be able to add a second kitchen in the man cave or granny flat or whatever we choose to call it. You would not be able to do that, essentially because the intent when the original code was written was to prevent that from happening, prevent you from having a unit you could rent out.
Okay, thank you, sir.
So now I guess we need to figure out which way us as the council want to move them in so that we can open up for public comment. So would the consensus be for the department to begin working on some structure to this?
Mr. Mayor, I think that would be a good idea. Obviously, they've already got sort of a plan, and there's also seemingly frameworks and blueprints out there for places that have already done it successfully. I imagine that it would be a good idea to have them bring us back some more detailed potential changes to the code.
Structural code. Mr. Rosenthal.
So be advised that this is just a preliminary meeting to give you an idea of what we want to do.
Mm-hmm.
Staff's with your permission, staff can go back and work on something that's a little bit more solid. and then we can entertain those other ideas about what you would like to have, what you would not like to see. And then they will write an ordinance to encompass all of that.
All right, very good. Now I'll open it up for public comment, if you don't mind. Mr. Bowden, you were the only one to sign up for this?
Mr. Mayor, I want to sign up and offer my support for the concept and the recognition that there's a serious need for affordable housing within the city of Lake City.
Sorry, we disrupted. We're gonna start your time over again, Mr. Bowden.
It's not necessary, because I just want to offer my support for it. I listened to the presentation at the zoning meeting, same presentation. I was seriously impressed with the presentation. I was seriously impressed with how you presented it. I've not seen that from the building and zoning department. There's no criticism of the past. I've not seen that in the past. And it was very well done. I appreciate how you presented it. I love the PowerPoint. But townhomes are needed. You know, if you don't think so, just ride through my neighborhood. You'll go down Solar Street that run north and south. You'll ride down Washington Street. There's definitely a need for affordable housing. And so what I want to encourage the council to do, don't beat the project to death before you see what it's like. You know, sometimes you can ask too many questions going in before you really know what the answer is going to be. But let's let the project move forward. Then if you don't like it then, that's fine. But there's a need. And I would encourage you not to throw up so many roadblocks that it won't come to fruition, because there's a serious need for affordable housing. Sylvester Warren and Vanessa George is not considered a tiny home, but they got some small homes they built over on Congress Street on the road. So you want to see something small and neat and nice and look good, just ride down and look at what they done to that property, you know. So I can't imagine in some areas in North Lake City that a tiny home going to degrade the property. If anything, it's going to increase the property value. You know, you got some people got a single family house built right there in RSF 3. You can bring a used mobile home, and there's nothing wrong with mobile home, and put it right next door to that property because of the zoning. So I just can't see how this can be a negative in any kind of way. So I appreciate the city manager's vision on this. He recognized when he came to town. When you live here, then you certainly know that there's a serious need for affordable housing. You got people who are paying $1,600 a month for houses, stone houses that's been there since I was a child. People went in the renovator, get $1,600 a month for them. 2 bedroom, 1 bath. In some cases smaller than that. So I would encourage you to move forward with this, and thank you for your support. And thank the city manager for his vision.
Thank you, Mr. Bowden. Appreciate your comments. Last round, yes. More public comment, Werninger.
On the life safety side of this as well, we were running into a problem in the past of people, the man cave thing, people pulling in a shed that they can buy on the corner that is 200 square foot, put it in their backyard, and then renting it out to somebody. We have a shed catch on fire. We get called and said the shed is on fire. We don't know that somebody's inside of there. So this code change allows for the structure to be built safely and up to code, and it is a residence, not a shed that somebody is living in. So just want to offer my side of that too. I'm thankful that they're actually taking the next step that kind of goes away from that. So
thank you, Chief Werninger. All right, one last round of council comments. We're going to go in reverse order. Starting with you, Councilman. Councilman Carter.
I think it's great.
Councilman Harris. Or Councilwoman Harris, I apologize. I apologize.
I wanna see what else he has.
Okay. Vice Mayor Young.
That's what I say, bring in, more information, and I'm for affordable housing. It's definitely needed, but we do need more information.
So I'll give the direction on consensus to move forward with this project. And if it requires a workshop in the future where you guys need more structure from us in what you're doing, or more input from us in the public, I think that let's move forward on whatever you need to do.
All right, thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. All right. Now we're on to the quasi-judicial portion of our meeting. We begin with City Council Ordinance number 2024-2298 in the final reading of, so I'm going to turn it over to you now, Mr. Martin.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and these are companion ordinances. 2298 is the future land use plan amendment, and and 2299 is the corresponding zoning change. Tonight you have before you both of those matters. Both are before you on applications from BYP LLC submitted by their agent, Charles Millar. The application for the future land use map amendment is CPA 24-04, and the application for the corresponding zoning change is application Z 2405. The purpose of this procedure, as you know, is to make sure that an applicant provides a fair and complete presentation of their request prior to testimony being provided by staff and others. All testimony is taken under oath. Everyone testifying will be subject to cross-examination, and all documents and exhibits shall be entered into the record as evidence. Opinion testimony is limited to experts, and closing arguments will be limited to evidence of record. To accomplish all of this, we're going to follow the order of presentation that is presented in the agenda packet for the items. All persons have the right through the mayor to ask questions of staff or other speakers, to seek clarification of comments made by staff or other speakers, and respond to comments or presentation of staff or other speakers. All people presenting written materials to the council for consideration must ensure a copy of those materials is provided to the clerk for inclusion in the council's record of proceedings and official minutes. While the council welcomes comments from all persons with an interest in the proceeding, Florida law requires the council's decision and quasi-judicial actions be supported by competent and substantial evidence presented to the city council during the hearing on the application. Competent and substantial evidence is that evidence that a reasonable mind would accept as adequate to support a conclusion. There must be a factual basis on the record to support opinion testimony from both expert and non-expert witnesses, and people presenting testimony may support their testimony by relying on factual information provided by city staff, the applicant, or information provided in the city staff report. If members of the public wish to have their comments considered by the city council, those comments must be offered under oath to be considered by the council as evidence in the proceeding. This time I need to inquire of each council member individually if they have received any ex parte communications involving these matters, and if so, to please disclose them. Starting at the end of the dais, Councilwoman Young, have you had any ex parte communications on these matters?
I have not.
Okay, and Councilman Carter?
No.
And Councilman Jernigan? And Councilwoman Harris? And Mr. Mayor?
No.
Okay, thank you. At this time, for both of these two ordinances, if anyone who is going to offer testimony or speak to them could stand and raise your right hand to take an oath. I know we have city staff. Yes, I saw the agent here for the applicant. Do each of you, for both of these ordinances and their presentations, swear that the testimony you're going to provide is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
All right, thank you. Council members, you now have before you proposed ordinance 2024-2298 on final reading, which states an ordinance of the City of Lake City, Florida, amending the future land use plan map of the City of Lake City Comprehensive Plan as amended, relating to an amendment of 50 or less acres of land pursuant to an application CPA 2404 by Charles Millar as agent for VYP LLC, a Florida limited liability company, property owner of said acreage under the amendment procedures established in sections 163.3161 through 163.3248 Florida statutes as amended, providing for changing the future land use classification from commercial county to commercial city of certain lands within the corporate limits of the City of Lake City, Florida, providing severability, repealing all ordinances in conflict, and providing an effective date. Mr. Thomas, could you please provide an introduction and summary, and if it makes sense, go ahead and give a complete presentation. So,
thank you, Mr. Attorney. If it pleases the council, this presentation will serve for both land use action and the zoning action. As we did before. This is the second reading of the two ordinances, one for the land use change from county commercial to city commercial. Likewise, it's also the action for the rezoning from commercial commercial intensive on county to commercial intensive in the city. It's on for a property that was recently annexed into the city. The secondary steps are to change the land use and zoning after the annexation is complete. And just to make sure everybody is aware, the county commercial intensive and the City of Lake City commercial intensive zoning categories both are substantially the same in terms of the allowable uses. Again, to state the staff review, there were no significant issues with staff review. Most of the comments, most of the departments at this time don't have any comment. They'll have their comments when we get further down the development line towards site plan and building. Outside agency review also had no issues at this time. It was heard by the Planning and Zoning Board and recommended approval at the November 12th Planning and Zoning Board meeting, and then City Council action on the December 2nd City Council meeting. You passed on first reading on both the CPA, the ordinance 2024-2298 for the comprehensive plan amendment, as well as the 2024-2299 for the rezoning. And just again, to refamiliarize you with the location, it's the proposed site there at the intersection of US 90 and 247. You can see the area all around it is commercial already in terms of land use, and the same with zoning. The area all around it is essentially, almost all of it is commercial intensive as well. So it fits in with the existing development pattern. With that, staff presentation is complete. I'm going to read the application to the record.
All right, thank you. Application's been entered. At this time, it will be appropriate to hear from the applicant. If you have anything you want to add to the presentation.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Peter Renici with Atwell. I'm here on behalf of our client, BYP LLC. Thank you for allowing me a couple minutes regarding the reading of ordinance 2024-2298. Also want to thank city staff for all the hard work on the comp plan amendment as well as the rezoning process. So due to the parcel's recent annexation into the city, it was necessary to assign a future land use designation. And since it's located directly adjacent to existing city commercial land use, and there is already existing city-owned infrastructure services available to the site, the request for a commercial land use seemed fitting. We feel this is a great location for redevelopment within the high-growth area of the city, and US 90 is an ever-changing corridor that will always benefit from commercial-type services. If you have any questions, I'd love to help out. Thank you.
Thank you. At this time, it would be appropriate to hear from members of the public. Is there any public comment? Okay. Seeing none, at this time, are there any questions from council? Okay. And are you waiving closing comments? And I'm sorry, I neglected to ask, are you moving your application into the record today?
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you. Closing comments have been waived. At this time, it would be appropriate for the council to discuss the matter and offer a motion on ordinance number 2024-2298. The application may be adopted if it preserves the internal consistency of the city's comprehensive plan, complies with state laws, and does not confer special privileges or rights on any person. Should the council wish to adopt this ordinance, an appropriate motion would be to adopt ordinance number 2024-2298 as read by title only.
Do we have any discussion? Yeah, go for it. Do we have any discussion by council? All right, hearing none, I will request a motion to adopt city council ordinance number 2024-2298 on final reading.
Move to adopt ordinance 2024-2298 on final reading.
We have a motion and a second. Ms. Campbell, please call roll.
Mr. Carter?
Yay.
Ms. Young? Yes. Mr. Jernigan?
Yes.
Ms. Harris? Yes. Mayor Walker?
Yes.
Council members, you now have before you proposed ordinance 2024-2299 on final reading, which states an ordinance of the City of Lake City, Florida, amending the official zoning atlas of the City of Lake City land development regulations as amended, relating to the rezoning of 10 or less contiguous acres of land pursuant to an application Z2405 submitted by Charles Millar as agent for BYP LLC, a Florida limited liability company, the property owner of said acreage, providing for rezoning from commercial intensive county or CICO to commercial intensive city or CI of certain lands within the corporate limits of the City of Lake City, Florida, providing severability, repealing all ordinances in conflict, and providing an effective date. Mr. Thomas, are you adopting your prior presentation?
Yes.
All right, and you're moving it into the record for this as well? Sir, are you adopting your prior presentation, moving it into the record as well?
Yes.
All right. No further comments from the applicant or city staff. Are there any comments from the public? Seeing none, members of the council, if there are any questions, now would be the appropriate time to pose them to the applicant or city staff. Seeing none, the decision of the council should be based only on the evidence provided by sworn witnesses. In addition, the council shall take into consideration the recommendation of the Planning and Zoning Board, which was to adopt this ordinance, and take into consideration those matters listed in section 15.2.2 of the city's land development regulations. Should the council wish to adopt this ordinance, an appropriate motion would be to adopt ordinance number 2024-2299 as read by title only.
I'm gonna move real quick through this. Do we have any discussion from Councilman Jernigan? Councilman Carter? Councilwoman Harris? Vice Mayor Young? All right, I'll accept a motion to adopt city council ordinance number 2024-2299 on final reading.
Move to adopt ordinance 2024-2299.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Ms. Cannon, please call the roll.
Mr. Carter?
Yay.
Ms. Young?
Yes.
Mr. Jernigan?
Yes.
Ms. Harris? Mayor Walker?
Yes. All right. I would like to take a temperature check on the dais on whether or not we need a quick break. Doesn't look like we do. All right, so let's move on to item number 14. Mr. Rosenthal, City Manager, 6-month evaluation. Mr. Rosenthal, do you have comments to kick this off?
Not at this time, no.
Okay, very good. Well, I'm gonna move down the row again. Vice Mayor Young, do you have any comments to kick us off?
I reserve them at this moment.
Okay. Councilwoman Harris? Councilman Carter?
This is a new process for me, having not done this before, so I have to just excuse my ignorance on this. I know we're all fairly new to all of this, but the best outcome to understand the process we're supposed to be involved in here is to come up with some sort of a scope in which to allow you, Mr. Mayor, and the attorney to enter into negotiations on a potential pay raise for the city manager based on a 6-month evaluation. So, in order to do that, I think we'd have to know at least what the city manager would like to get.
Councilman Jernigan?
Yes, sir, just like I told you a couple of weeks ago, an evaluation from Mr. Rosenthal, when there's it's potential that there's a lot of us don't even know how to do an evaluation, a fair evaluation. With that being said, just like I said before, it's not about an evaluation. It's about what Mr. Rosenthal has brought to the city of Lake City in the 6 months he's been here. And you can give Mr. Rosenthal all zeros, zeros being the worst. He wants money. We set the standard. In 6 months, we reevaluate the contract. And at that time, I was under the impression that we were talking about monies. And you know, I did the evaluation, and I was pretty fair about it. I didn't talk to him about it at all. But again, it's about money. Whatever he's asking for, we need to come up with a figure, in my opinion. That's it, sir.
That's fair. Mr. Rosenthal, did you have something? I saw you lean forward. Did you have something you wanted to add?
Well, we had talked to some extent about the means of doing it, and we looked at the ICMA, and we sent the schedules from ICMA on how to grade the city managers to all the council members, so we have that. I would like for some direction from the council to the mayor on a negotiating process, and what I'm hoping for is at least a 10% increase.
From my understanding, this before, and then we'll go back down through our comments and questions. That would put us at the original asking of 185, Is that correct? So that being said, we'll go back through comments and then we'll summarize it, starting with you, Vice Mayor Young.
Okay. Mr. Rosenthal has done is doing an outstanding job, and there's no doubt about that. We've seen quite a bit of elevation here in the city, looking good. Now, 185, I'm not gonna reach that high, with 185. And 6 months ago, plus the little time, Mr. Rosenthal, when he was interviewing for the position, and I believe that was the number, 175. And we said that we will do an evaluation in 6 months, revisit, and I thought that, looking at it to bring him up to 175, at this time of evaluation. There are several concerns that I have really with the 175. We have Mr. Rosenthal, appreciate him, doing a great job, but we also have to, I can't just look at today. I have to look at future, and this is not a surprise to him, I've said this. Gotta leave room for elevation, when it comes to his salary. If we go 185, man, a year from now, what are we gonna do? Come back down? And won't be in the room for climbing. So, I would say if I had to throw a number out, it would be 170, 175.
Councilwoman Harris.
Well, I haven't been here that long, but, from what I have seen Mr. Rosenthal do, I am so flattered. I have had no problems with calling him, and if he don't know something, he'll find out and he'll get right back with me. All of his new things that he wanna bring to Lake City, love them. I don't know about if you all did agree 175, what's the number when he first got here 6 months ago?
Well, if I may, I think that we were negotiating, and 175 is the figure I wanted to start at, and we negotiated back to 162.5. Since then, I've gotten a 3% increase with the rest of staff, so I think we're at about 167,375 right now. And essentially, we're asking for a 10% increase to that.
What is the usual pay?
If I may, there is no usual with the city manager. It's what we talk about, what we can negotiate, and how well I perform.
I'm about to agree with Ms. Young. I mean, you know, brought awesome things to us, and I love it. But I'm with her on that. If you go jump to 185 in a year's time, where we're gonna go 190, 195, I mean, I would think 175 is a good number. Cause you said you're 167 now.
Councilman Carter.
I think I've said it a couple times since we agreed to hire, Mr. Rosenthal. I do believe that, you know, we started out very, very early on advertising a rate that we decided to, increase quite a bit, but also I think we were shopping on the top shelf, if you will. I think he had a tremendous amount of experience, so I do believe it was worth it. I would also say, and not to, not necessarily sell anybody on any particular concept, but I believe freeing up and seeing a lot of our zoning departments come in and bring these new ideas to talk about real potential planning with the housing market. I think, and I'm not sure how many people are aware of this, but Mr. Rosenthal had a conversation with our bank that led to us getting over $1 million more a year. You know what I mean? These are little things that we probably could have had that conversation a long time ago and we didn't even know to do it. But that being said, I don't disagree. The starting pay for Mr. Rosenthal was higher than we ever paid anybody by a long shot. 185 feels a little high to me as well. I'm not uncomfortable with the concept of a 175, and I'd be fine with you guys negotiating at or around that.
Councilman Jordan.
Well, I'm in agreement with Ms. Young and Ms. Harris. I was thinking more of 170. I didn't even know it was 167, 375. I don't look at people's pay as much as others. What I do is the performance, and he has definitely performed. And I was thinking more of 170 because I thought he was at 160, and then giving him room to grow, and another 6 months to get him to that pinnacle. However, 185 was a little bit high, and I don't know if Mr. Rosenthal is a car salesman or not, but you know, taking it up to 185, that's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to take it as high as you can. He should have said 285, and then hopefully we'll meet him halfway. So I'm hoping to at least for 170, in between 170 and 175 is what I'm hoping for. Again, he has brought a lot of things to the table. And again, I don't like to hear the word "I," and because there's a great vast amount of department heads that we got back there up here that help Mr. Rosenthal get the things he has in motion. Without those department heads and managers and supervisors and things like that, we probably wouldn't have got there, even with Mr. Rosenthal here. So there's a great team out there, but I would hate to stay on 167, but anywhere from 170 to 175 would be good, and giving him an opportunity to grow even more. And I think he can tell you I'm one of his biggest supporters. And with that being said, I don't know exactly how long Mr. Rosenthal is planning on being here, but I would definitely, while he's here, pay him what he's worth. And 185 is just a tad too high for me. Okay, that's it.
So Mayor, if I can, I'd like to address something that the councilman said.
Go for it.
You're absolutely right. Staff has been here a long time. Department heads have been essential and critical to my being able to be successful. And they've been a big part of me being able to do what I've done. And the department heads were here all the time. The only thing that's essentially changed is me. You brought me in and you commented, you said, well, we paid Mr. Rosenthal a lot. Well, you look at my resume, I feel I should have been paid a lot. I think I'm at the top of my game as far as managing cities and generating revenue for the city. And I think I should be paid accordingly. Now, 170 would be unreasonable for me. I wouldn't want to stay for 170. So that, I just want to put that out there. I think that would be something I wouldn't be interested in doing.
All right, I'm gonna make my comments, and then we're gonna come back down through council comments one more time. Then we'll call for a motion, and then we'll open it up to public comment, because we do have public comment on this item, but there's no proposition yet. My comments are, I kind of took a different approach. I'm coming from the private field into public. I've worked at a Fortune 100 company before and watched some of how these managers are compensated and what they do. And so what I looked at was, our top line budget, then I looked at how many departments and how many employees that are overseeing 250 plus employees, approximately 20 departments, $75 million top line budget. When I looked at what that is going for today in the administrator CEO space, just a quick Google search, the range was $200,000 to $500,000, right? Just a moment. Obviously, that's not a place that we want to be. But I think coming up in the last 2 months, going from outsider to person at the dais, and having followed city movement for the greater part of a decade and a half, I think that our city is running more smoothly in the last 6 months than it has at least in the last half decade. And I think there's something to be said for that. And where in my personal experience, running organizations or chairing organizations here in town, we've lost executive directors due to other places scalping them or finding a better opportunity. And I've lost employees to better opportunity or better pay in other businesses. And the amount of reeling that the organization does in those times is always followed by lamentation of, yeah, we shouldn't have played that game. Even personally, losing employees, I mean, you always feel like, well, they got them cheap, and I had them cheaper, but they got them cheap, and I'm not gonna get the opportunity to get that back. So those are my comments, and now we'll start back over with you, Vice Mayor Young.
First of all, I would like to say we cannot pay, well, let me say this, we can't put a value on an employee. And I wouldn't sit here and try to put value Mr. Rosenthal, because he's worth way more than we will ever think about paying him. What I will say is, kind of got to stay away from Google now. Google the nation, you're gonna get the nation.
That's right.
So what I would like to say is, Mr. Rosenthal came in 6 months ago and asked for 175. And we said we'll review it. We'll look over it in 6 months. So here we are in that time area. So I say 175.
Okay. Councilwoman Harris, further comments?
Mr. Rosenthal, I wanna see what you're thinking, with 175, because I would definitely hate to lose you.
Well, I don't think you should negotiate based on whether or not it would keep you. I think you should negotiate on what you think is fair.
I wanna know.
I'll tell you after the meeting.
So, Councilman Carter.
I'm fine with that. My previous comments would say.
Okay. Councilman Jernigan.
Yes, I'm fine with the 175 and $1.
You can keep the $1, Councilman.
Okay, 175, I'm fine with that. Thank you, Ms. Young, Mr. Carter, thank you all so much. And, Ms. Tammy.
So I'm gonna, go for it, Councilman Carter.
Do we need a motion to?
We do. I was gonna make one final comment, cause it's going to, the process will be, and what you're making a motion on is giving me guidelines to work with your evaluations, presenting those to Mr. Rosenthal, and then negotiating based on evaluation his new salary. I would ask for you to consider in your motion to bump that to 178.5 for negotiating purposes. But that is up to you, whoever makes the motion. I will now call for a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I move to, authorize you to represent the council in negotiations with Mr. Rosenthal for a potential pay raise of no greater than 178.5 $100,000.
Is there a second? Motion dies without a second. Would you like to make another motion?
Mr. Mayor, I move to authorize you to negotiate on council's behalf, negotiate a salary change of up to $175,000 with Ms. Roosevelt.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. I'll pause this now for public comment before our discussion. Now there's a proposition on the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I met with Mr. Rosenthal today for the first time since he's been here, so I have no reason to stand up, but I can say this to you, having been on the city council and dealt with 4 city managers. I agree with your concept. I think that the public deserves to know what your evaluation look like. Each one of those individuals. You know, just talking about his money is one thing. I want to know how you arrived at that. Is he timely? Is he responsive to the citizens? Is he work late? You know, just saying that he's doing a good job. Explain to me as a citizen, you're talking about my tax dollar, and you're gonna give us Roosevelt $185,000, and frankly, I wouldn't have a problem with that, to be telling you the truth. I agree with Mr. Mayor, that you gotta compete in this world. You know, you wake up one morning and say, oh, I wish we had, he gone now, it's too late. You know, and you can't negotiate, Councilwoman, the city manager tell what you want right now. That's not gonna happen. It's not even fair. That's not even a good way to do that, you know. Either you're gonna get what you paid for. And if you're satisfied that the man is doing a good job moving us forward, then you negotiate on that alone. But as the public, I deserve to know how you arrived at that. Why you suggest $175,000? For this reason, this reason, this reason. So when you get the evaluation, I hope that's a matter of public record. So I'd like to see the evaluation. How did you evaluate Mr. Rosenthal? How did you arrive at it? I don't care if it's 175 or 185. The public deserves to know how you got there. That's my comment. We deserve to know how you got to that point. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. All right, we have a motion and a second on the floor. Any further discussion by the council?
Yes, I would like to discuss it as well, Mr. Mayor. I just want to make sure I got this right. 175, and then you're going to negotiate the 175?
That's my ceiling. That's the ceiling that you guys have set for me.
Okay.
That's the discussion.
And I hope there's people out there listening to Mr. Rosenthal. I know the department heads is listening. I know the financial person, she's here. And again, I'm so grateful and thankful for that. And I just didn't pull a number out of the hat, okay? The reason why I came up with that 175, because of the things that he's brought here, he's bringing here, and just by the one thing that they negotiated with First Federal Bank, that was one thing that he deserves to get a raise. I just know that there's some other things out there that hasn't came to fruition just yet. So, and I'm waiting for those things to come, and chances are he could get another raise in 6 months or a year, whatever you and the city attorney decide to negotiate with him on. But he's getting there by doing the things that he has done with the staff here and with the department heads here. So I just want to make sure he knows exactly the way I feel, because I don't hold back when it comes to that. And I know he's a businessman as well as everybody else. And he loves numbers.
That's right. All right, we have a motion second. Any further discussion other than Councilman Jernigan? Hearing none.
I have a question. He said up to 175.
It's a negotiation, so I'll go through everybody's everybody's evaluation with Mr. Rosenthal, and then the city attorney and I will. That's why I said, give me a ceiling, give me some more ceiling.
Mr. Mayor, if I may explain my motion, obviously the mayor asked before, we all determined that we are all right generally with the concept of up to 175. The mayor asked for the motion to give him a little wiggle room. That's why I made that motion there, because it is a negotiation. They're gonna sit down and have a discussion, go through our evaluations, and come to a number somewhere between 167, what he is making now, and what we're gonna go to. So, being that we are, it wouldn't be much of a negotiation if we're all saying 175 is okay with us. Also, that's the lid. So that's the explanation for the first motion, which died. So that's why I changed the motion back to 175. So.
If I could make a comment, Mayor. We've reached much higher than we were, but there's a lot more reaching to go. We have not reached the match yet. There's still a lot of work to do. So we have to leave room for that. We're doing things, great things are being done here, but there are greater things for Lake City.
Are you finished?
My problem is, I'm just gonna say it like this. Being here in Lake City, we have went through city manager after city manager after city manager. And I have not seen or heard of one making moves the way he has been making. And to answer your question, Mr. Bowden, he's working across the board with the county. That is a super duper plus. And not in just in one or two situations, but in a couple of situations. The ideas that he have presented me with, Lake City needs it. We need it. His leadership, everybody I have ever talked to behind his back.
I agree with him.
They think that he is, and right now, we can't afford to lose him. That's what I'm thinking. I understand with you always pay your good employees a good amount of money, because you want to keep them. And I'm afraid if we lose him, we'll be starting over again. I can't afford to start over. I'm here for 4 good years, and in these 4 years, I want to know that I have a city manager, and in the last, I've been on this board, 3 weeks? I have seen him almost move mountains to get stuff done in 6 months. I can't imagine where we will be in 3 years, because he's just that good, effective and efficient.
Mr. Attorney, you have a comment?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, a comment and maybe a suggestion for the council from a process standpoint moving forward. The council certainly can authorize the mayor to negotiate with Mr. Rosenthal. That said, there also is nothing that prohibits the council tonight from stating that they want to and will increase his salary to a particular amount. I mean, the number I keep hearing is 175. That action could be taken tonight without negotiation, and your evaluations could be presented to Mr. Rosenthal, and with a request that he schedule individual meetings with each of you to review your evaluations with him. But in the interest of truncating the process, the council certainly could just vote tonight to increase the salary to 175. That technically would be a contract amendment, so a variation of that could be that you could direct me to come back to the next meeting with a contract amendment that moves it to 175 and just do it that way. So you've got multiple avenues, but certainly you do not necessarily have to feel a need to negotiate if there is a consensus among the council on what you want to do, and Mr. Rosenthal is in a place where he's willing to accept your proposal. You've got to willing parties to a contract, the city and Mr. Rosenthal, and if there's an agreement, then you move forward.
There's a motion on the floor currently. Ms. Young, you had one more comment before we call for a vote on that motion, whether to kill it or move on with it.
That's exactly what I thought we were here for tonight, to actually, vote on the salary. And then have the, evaluations afterwards. So yes, if we agree on it to go ahead and vote on the salary.
So then we need to,
The maker of the motion and the person who offered the second can offer to withdraw those, and if they do, then someone else can make an alternative motion, so.
Mr. Mayor, I'm fine with withdrawing so we can continue discussing how we'd like to continue.
motion has been withdrawn.
I second.
All right, would anybody like to make a new motion?
I'd like to make a motion if we can get Mr. Rosenthal.
Motion to authorize, Mr. Martin to come back with a contract amendment to $180,000 by Councilwoman Harris. Do we have a second? Motion dies without a second. Would anybody like to make another motion?
Mr. Mayor, go ahead, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make that motion that we pay Mr. Rosenthal $175 tonight, $175,000 starting tonight.
There's a motion for contract amendment that Mr. Martin will make for $175,000 to be effective today upon it taking place. Do we have a second? We have a second from Councilwoman Young. Any further discussion?
Only that I would be curious to know if Mr. Rosenthal would find that amenable.
I would,
Okay.
yes.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, Ms. Cannon, will you please call?
Mr. Jernigan?
Yes.
Ms. Young? Yes. Mr. Carter?
Yay.
Ms. Harris?
Yes.
Mayor Walker?
Yes. Right.
We don't do variances, still be public. Variances, they still gonna be public, right? The variances.
Yeah, evaluations will still be public record.
Yeah,
All right, we have no new business, no department administration, so we're going to go to comments by council members, starting with Vice Mayor Young.
I have a few comments. The recycle, the waste pro. I know we have several vacant areas in the city of Lake City. I'm sure there's something we can do to offer, this area for the waste. I know it's just a few people, but that just means we just need a smaller area to set this up. Can you help us out?
Yeah, we actually had some comments from Ms. Harris on that too, and I think Dia did some work on that. I'm gonna let him address that.
Yes, myself and finance, we are reaching out to Waste Pro to kind of see if it's feasible and how much it might cost us extra. We do know it's $250 a month, I want to say, for the container itself, but that's not including the pickup. And one of the issues they were having with the pickup was that people are not recycling correctly. So once it gets out there to the landfill, they basically are junking it because it has to be cleaned and it's not cost efficient. We're gonna reach back out to them to see if we can kind of come up with something to get somebody on this area or get a container on this area for the pickup, but we're not there right now.
Okay, and the other one is, now, Lowe's came and offered to set up, the rubber chips for the park, Salem and Jerry. Did we follow up on that? How did the ball get dropped, or what happened?
I think we heard mention that Lowe's was willing to make a donation, but I didn't hear anything after that.
Because I know I followed through and asked that the proper paperwork get to Lowe's, I was told yes. So we might need to call Lowe's and.
I will follow up on that.
Yes, the manager is, Gina.
First name Gina.
Gina.
And also, just, Ms. Young, we did put in an application, I was just talking with finance, we did put that application in. We haven't heard anything, but we can follow back up on it.
Okay, let's please do that. And as far as the bathrooms, we did have that discussion, it's been some time ago, for the park. Is that Wilson Park out here?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and we did discuss, well, I asked the question, why can't the bathrooms to the pavilion be left open? Because we actually have people who actually open and close the restrooms, is that correct? So what's the?
Yes, we've been having some issues with vandalism, and with that being a rented facility, we just thought it was in best interest to keep them locked. For example, the one that's in the park across the street, it got set on fire a couple of times when we was leaving it open all night. But I can get with the Public Works Director and come up with something, and maybe we can come bring out something back for a resolution on that.
What about cameras?
Cameras,
Set up cameras?
yes, we do have cameras in the parks.
Cameras in, okay. So we can nail down where the problem is. Okay, so, and I think that's, the other thing is that I actually thought was gonna be on this agenda, is the county, was administering the funds for the housing repair. And, of course, those funds have been depleted, there's no more money in there. And it's not on the agenda, but I am asking that the council, agree to put $100,000, into that
Is that the
funding.
Yes, if I may, there was a lady that just missed the cutoff. She was supposed to be, and somebody got in front of her. So I talked to the county administrator. He said that all the monies were gone, that we had contributed to that, and that he was gonna get some numbers and get back to me. He hasn't gotten back to me yet. But he was gonna get some numbers and let me know the exact cost. He thinks it might be around $100,000 or less to fix our house or to abandon it and move it to someplace else.
And what happened, if I can have just a moment. I was actually working at the county office when this grant was being dispersed. And this one particular, I'm gonna say one particular lady, was the next one in line to get her house repaired. The lady who was handling the funds then, administering the funds, retired. Another lady stepped in, and there was evidently some type of, I don't know, miscommunication or whatever, and she got bumped. Someone else got ahead of her, and the funds were all gone after that. Now, the county was administrating the funds for us, because I understand, didn't have anyone who could do that. Now, hopefully, when funding comes back around for us for that, we'll have our own person. Appreciate the county, not blaming them for anything, but we ought to be in a position where we can handle our own monies by now. Mayor? Okay.
If I may, I've spoken to David Kraus. He says that if we can supply funding, he could put it on the list and get it done.
The reason I was looking at, I thought that was a board, like a public board that approved those funds. I know that it's county managed, but there are folks from the community that are on that board that go through those projects. Is that not right?
Well, yes, but the city contributed a certain amount of money to that for people in the city who qualified. And that money was supposed to cover that lady, but once she got bumped, like Ms. Young was saying, then she got knocked out of her place and somebody else filled it. And then when those funds were expended, then there were no funds left to get the work done that she was scheduled to get done.
Gotcha. Sure. Ms. Young?
And discussion has come before the board, before, of whether we were going to, put more money into it or not. And I guess it's just one of those things that got, overlooked or whatever. So she will be first?
No, she will be the sole person that gets it now, because she was next in line and got bumped. I talked to David Kraus, and he's assured me that if we can do the funding, that he can put her on the list and get her next.
I think it would be my preference that we have that as an item on our next agenda, so that we can fully explore it.
Okay.
If that works for everybody.
And if I can say, I actually went into this home, and you can tell it was a beautiful home at some point in time. But there's a major, she needs help. It's a major issue. I walked in and of course the foundation is offset. It's really bad, and I'm sure she would invite any of you, you don't have to take my word for it, she would invite any of you to come in. I'm not an expert, but it's just enough for the eye to see.
Thank you, Councilwoman Young.
I have a question about that.
Yeah, go for it.
I agree about what you said a moment ago, first for having to bring it back before the board. I would really like to know, I'm not familiar with that program and what it entails, what it's for, so maybe for anybody else who's new here, a full brief on what it is and what we're paying for.
Yeah, I think that would be, that's kind of what I was, so that and then the specific item as an attachment to that. Cause what SHIP is it's a public fund to help folks. And I believe it's for the elderly and disabled, right? To repair major problems on their house, like their roof or a major plumbing leak.
Things that they couldn't afford to do on their own.
Yeah. So it's to help them keep them in their home and for the home to not become a blight.
Mayor, if I may, I'm sorry, Ms. Young, go ahead.
You have to meet a criteria.
There's criteria. Yeah.
So just to give y'all a back history on this, the city in two resolutions moved $750,000 from the ARPA funds to the senior program. I believe the county matched that funds or put more with it. So that's where we started at with this. The funds did get depleted. We had our first project kind of went over budget. You never know what you got till you go in there. You move one thing and you got another problem. So the funds did depreciate very quick. I would say look at it holistically, but I could bring you back everything that y'all approved previously to send over there.
Yeah, just show us a programmatic step through what it is, what we sent, what's needed.
Okay.
That sound good? Good direction, thank you. Ms. Young, anything further? Councilman Jernigan, your turn.
Oh, my turn. I got two questions, and maybe the city, our city attorney can help us, as well as the city manager. Along the lines of the hospital authority board that they have over here, they sent letters to the city. I think the Lake City Reporter, somehow or another, they know the letters are being sent. I don't know if they're good letters, bad letters, it just depends on who's reading it. But anyway, they have timelines on these letters, and I want to see these letters answered in a timely fashion. That's with the letters that we get in from their magistrate, from attorney to attorney. The other thing is the Florida Gateway College has been sending letters over here as well. They're not getting answers. Nobody knows what where the letters are. I like to see those letters whenever they come. I don't know if I have to put in a public records request or whatever the case may be. But those letters are being sent, but they're not being answered in a timely manner. And I like to see those letters answered in a timely manner. You get a phone call, hey, your city attorney, the city manager, you the city council, you this, hey, listen, when I don't have no idea as to what's going on, That bothers me a lot. So I'm saying, whenever you get a letter from any magistrate, city, county attorney, FGC attorney, those things, it must be answered in a timely manner. So I appreciate you guys if y'all can get those letters answered in a timely manner. You know, don't just wait around. Go ahead and answer them. That way we won't be sued for not answering the letters as they come in.
So, Councilman, if I may, the letter in question was a letter sent to me in response to a zoning violation letter that I sent to them. I had a conversation with, I think, Mr. Beal, and I thought that we had pretty much resolved it until I got the letter from his attorney. Once I got the letter from his attorney, then I wasn't gonna answer anybody else anymore. I gave it to our attorney. And he was looking at it to give them a legal response because that was a legal letter to me. And my response is always to send a legal response back. So that's what happened to that letter.
Have he answered it back?
I haven't answered the second letter that he sent because it was from an attorney. I gave it to our attorney, and he's reviewing it. He's going to give an answer back. And on the school, on Gateway College, the situation in question, we don't think we have any kind of issue with that right now. We think that's an issue that they probably have themselves. But we think we've done what we're supposed to do. Long story short.
But did they send you a letter and they said they did everything, we did everything we're supposed to do, or what was that letter entail?
I'm going to defer to the county attorney. I know the county attorney has been making, city attorney has been taking letters back and forth to the attorney that works for the school board. And I think they've resolved one of those issues, I think. I'm going to defer to you now, Clay.
So you'll recall, we'll take Gateway College first, since that's kind of what we left off on the handoff. You'll recall several months ago, Dr. Barrett came to a meeting and presented the issue of a land swap that's been lingering for close to 20 years. That was really it was a matter of new impression for me. I'd never knew anything about it. It wasn't quite as new to the college's attorney, but she hasn't been there very long either. So it's taken us a little bit of time to look at the documentation, pull together the history, figure out where it was, figure out some confusion in other public records to see if the land swap had ever actually occurred or not, because there were some records out there that indicated it may have. We've determined it hasn't. We've determined that the city approved the swap. We're in the process right now of conducting a title exam on the parcel to be granted to the city from the college to make sure that the appropriate entity signs that deed, so that when we get that deed in our hands, we know that it's been granted to us and signed by the appropriate person. City side's easy. We know internally who signs the deed from us to the college. The college attorney, Megan Logan, and I have been in pretty regular communication and update about that particular matter, and my understanding from her is she has also been updating college administration on that matter. The second issue concerns a dam or a berm or a spillway. I've heard it referred to as different things. I'm not an engineer. I don't know what the technical term is for it, but it's something that controls water on a piece of property over by the college, just south of the college library. There is some feeling on the college side that the city may have done things to that structure that causes it to improperly retain water. That matter was presented to the college Board of Trustees. I think memory serves, the date November 14th comes to mind at their trustees meeting. I think that was a Thursday. At that meeting, they directed Ms. Logan to send a letter to me. It took her a week or so to get the letter out, but I did get a letter from her asking the city to look into that. The city, working with city manager, Mr. Brown, Mr. Brown's working with the Water Management District, have looked into that. Again, I have exchanged several written communications with Ms. Logan, in addition to multiple phone calls on that matter. As late as today, in fact, she, as I was leaving Gainesville, She sent me an email with some additional information that I requested for us to take a look at. Particularly, they were aerial photos from Google Satellite and I haven't had a chance to look at them, but the reason she sent them is she says that those photos, if you look at the progression over time, you can see the changes that they say have occurred to that particular dam structure. So my next step is to take a look. I'll probably have to get on a phone call with her and kind of walk through them and let her show me. But if someone is saying we haven't in that matter sent a formal written response, they would be correct. If they're saying that the city and the city attorney's office and city administration and utilities haven't done anything to respond, I would take issue with that. We've been incredibly responsive in that matter. In fact, we were having a conversation about how to resolve it before her letter was even sent to me, which I think probably delayed her sending the letter because we got to work on the problem before the letter could even go out. So that is that particular matter. And then as to the hospital authority, the city has been directed, had 2 letters directed to it. The attorney for the authorities has requested a response. He set a deadline that he imposed himself. The city's certainly not bound by those deadlines, but we are sensitive to their needs. The issue is not a simple one, and we've had a couple of meetings internally with growth management staff and me as the city attorney to look at the city's land development regulations, comprehensive plan, the history for the hospital, all for the purpose of giving them a meaningful rather than quick and capricious response. So none of it has been ignored. I will say on the hospital authority side, the answer is a little more complicated, and so we want to make sure that when we give it, that we give them something that's firm and can be relied on.
Thank you for that long explanation. I heard everything you said, but I don't know if it is sunk into my brain. The question is, if they send you a letter, just answer it in a timely manner. All I want you to do is, when we get these letters, answer them in a timely manner. That way they don't call and inquire about letters being sent here, sent there. Nobody knows what's going on. And I'm pretty sure that the mayor wants to know what's going on. Carter, I know he wants to know what's going on. And Ms. Harris and Ms. Young, we all want to know what's going on. But if we don't know, next thing you know, we're in a lawsuit because we didn't answer it in a timely manner. That's a problem. So all I'm saying is, thank you for that long explanation. Answer the letters in a timely fashion. And I think I've talked to Mr. Rosenthal about this. And nobody knows, what you do. And, I know if I call you on the phone.
If I can interrupt you for a second, I'd like to invite our executive director, Steve Brown, to the mic, because he went on the ground, he looked at that, and we've been talking and working on that extensively. So if it's okay, I'll have him bring you up to date on that.
Yes.
So what we have found out there in the college, they actually asked us to come out and take a look at it. They were concerned about some timber that had died due to some water being withheld in a certain area. This area is a wetland. It's designed to do this. There was a road put in that went to our water plant that we did permit. We went through the process to get the engineering done and the permitting done. About this line, 2013 to 2015 area, it appears property changed hands, and the college seems to believe that they wasn't 100% updated on what was gonna go on. The city side, as we go through the water management district to get permission to do this. So we did what we were supposed to do, is what we understand. We had several meetings out there, 3 that I've had, with Dr. Barrett and his staff to try and get them up to speed. So we've done everything we could from a staff level. Prior to Mr. Martin getting involved even, we were told that everything looked like it was going good. So this kind of just snowballed, and I don't know what the ulterior motive was that got us to the litigation point. But as far as staff and everything we had done, we had been out there many times to try and resolve it.
Yeah, I appreciate you explaining that as well. But again, we get a letter, I just want it answered in a timely manner. You know, that's it. I mean, okay. That's all I want. Thank you, sir.
All right, very good. Councilman Carter.
Hey, yeah, I've got a couple of things I'd like to talk about real quick if I could. They're maybe a little lighter. Just want to say it was an absolute delight. I'd like to give a big attaboy to Terry Phillips and really everybody in the city who put together this past weekend's winter market. You know, for years, I have gone to Live Oaks Christmas on the Square, and I've always been a little jealous because they have a tremendous sense of community spirit, and that event is really great. And now for the last couple of years, we've been getting this event going. This one's the biggest one that I've ever seen. I'm not sure as far as the exact number of vendors, but it felt that big. You know, it stretched from 90 all the way over to the lake. Just a ton of people, ton of food. Everybody seemed to be having a great time. Piggybacking that, the Christmas lighting ceremony was also just slam-packed with people and was a tremendous success. And as we're going forward, and I've talked before in the past on this dais about wanting to gather up wins, and there certainly are some very tangible wins that we are working on and can keep working on. But that level of community spirit to me is tremendous, and it's something that as a kid growing up here I always wanted to see, and I'm just starting to see it really bloom in our downtown area, and it delights me, and I'm very, very pleased with Ms. Phillips and what she's been doing, and everybody who supports her in that endeavor. And I want to keep seeing that stuff. I think it's terrific, and I think none of the other things we do matter if the Lake City doesn't matter to its people, and it feels like it's starting to really matter, and I like it a lot. So that I'd like to say, and then also I had. It's been a little while since I reported on the further adventures of James wandering about the city. But this past Friday, I had a chance to spend a couple of hours with our wastewater treatment facilities director, Cody Pridgeon. I keep saying his name wrong. I made sure I got the spelling here. Cody, first of all, terrific guy. He did an excellent job showing me every inch of the St. Margaret Street and the Kicklighter wastewater facilities. You know, there was some spots that they don't smell good, but man, they're important to this, and that's a vital part of our civilized society around here, and I think there's a lot of folks that we don't know keep it smelling good here, and keep our pipes are going. And obviously I've talked in the past about our water treatment centers, but the wastewater was very interesting. And I would recommend to anybody who hasn't, I know Councilman Jernigan has, but anybody who hasn't, get with Cody. I would recommend anyway. Get with Cody, go take a look, including what he was explaining to me in the process was, because obviously we know we have a lot of beautiful springs and aquifers in Florida that are pretty unique to other places around the world. And how we manage our wastewater is incredibly important, because if we don't do it right, we can very easily damage our local biological infrastructure. So we have done something pretty ingenious, and I had heard about it, but I had really no idea. But as we do use spray fields, but we also have created a really interesting thing. It's effectively an artificial wetland that is, honestly, it's magical. I felt like I went through a gate and was in the Everglades, and this is what's processing the final step of our wastewater thing, and it's really incredible. So if I could real quick, I just want to read out the list of Cody and his staff and tell them thank you. So Cody Pridgeon is the director of wastewater. We have Bill Fish, chief operator, Tyler Todd, lead operator, Randall Anderson is a maintenance supervisor, Ron Cooler, operator, Jose Flores, operator, Andrew Holmes, operator trainee. Keep it up, bud. Curtis Howard, operator, Stephanie Ingram, operator, Thomas Murray, operator, Carl Richardson, operator, Hunter Scott, maintenance tech, and Garrett Timberlake, maintenance tech. And then out at the spray fields, we have David Durrance, spray field superintendent, Paul McKeithen, spray field tech, David Rivers, spray field tech, and Ray Locke, spray field tech. What they're doing is really impressive. They in addition to actually doing that work, they also keep up their facilities themselves, as a lot of our departments do. So they mow, they paint when things need painting, they do the cleaning. All these facilities are pristine. I was really impressed, and I really appreciate it, and I appreciate all of them. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilwoman Harris, your turn.
I just have 3 things. The first one, what did we end up saying we were gonna do as far as the table? That was in the front.
That's a good question. We haven't discussed it as a council. Mr. Rosenthal,
Staff just needs direction.
do we wanna go through that real quick?
Yeah, you talking to me?
Well, all of us. So, well, let's go down the road. We'll just do a quick roll and we'll start with you, Councilman Jernigan.
Okay, of course, this may not be the ideal way of doing things. But your life has not been threatened. Your life has not been turned upside down. You haven't lost anybody. Maybe you haven't had coronavirus. Maybe you don't have underlying conditions. But when I have people come up here, come up there, they need to be 6 feet away from me. That's what I would like to see. I would like to see this stay here. However, it needs to be moved around or vamped out a little bit. But we don't have to have tables and chairs there. You can just put a piece of tape across there if you want. I don't care what you do. But I want some distance between me and the constituents, or the people who likes to come up and complain and talk. And we've had. Huh?
I was.
Oh, I thought you were talking to me.
No.
We've had a person coming here with a gun. We've had a police officer over here, a police officer over here. We got police officers in the back. However, I prefer it stay exactly the way it is, and if something happens to me, just know. You said, I'm not saying you in particular, you said move it. There was a reason why it's there, and I think it needs to just stay there. I'm done.
Councilman, so I'm going down the list. Councilman Carter.
Well, I gotta be honest, I don't think some black sheets and 2 tables are gonna stop anybody in that last 6 feet from hurting anybody if they really want to. I don't think it's a good look. I don't like it. I know why I feel like I know why they were there. To me, I don't think we need to be in a position where we're, 2 things. One, creating this real other feeling between the council and the citizens. We're their servants. And 2, I'm not concerned, I'm not in the mood to entertain other people trying to intimidate me or any of us. And if somebody comes up here and threatens me, everyone in the room will hear about it. Those tables aren't gonna stop them. So I don't like it. I don't think it's a good look, but I've said that before. Obviously, whatever the will of the council is.
Councilwoman Harris.
I think they need to be.
Councilwoman Young.
My first remark is actually a question. Councilman says he doesn't know why they're there. So why are they there?
I said, I think I know why they're there. Because previously, citizens have come up to this dais and said threatening and aggressive remarks to people sitting on the dais. And I believe that led to staff trying to find some solutions to prevent that from happening.
I don't wanna go on, I think and I believe. Why are the tables there? Can anybody say why the tables are there?
Just from my research, there was something read out by Mayor Witt about allowing the disabled to sit at the tables, or this table, to fill out their comment cards and do their public comment from there. And then there was another mention by Mayor Witt later along the lines of what Councilman Carter said, that it was for safety.
Okay, because I asked the question initially, and I understand that it wasn't somebody on the council, that it was actually a constituent who actually had the fear. Now I'm hearing Councilman Journey. This is the way I feel about it. I don't like the presentation, but if someone if they feel fear from this, then I feel what they feel. It doesn't bother me. I'm not afraid of anybody that I know of. It doesn't bother me, but if it bothers someone else, then I am kind of somewhat offended. Somebody tell me they're afraid, I feel for them. I can't feel for them. I can't feel what they feel, but I have to accept what they're saying. Do you see what I'm saying?
I do.
So that's how I feel about the tables. Now, there are better looks, and you look at other counties and see what they do as far as the petition. Because I know when you go in public offices, there is usually a petition. Not this look, but there are petitions. So there are other avenues.
My thoughts on it. For safety, my thoughts are that we remove this table and that partition, and before meetings, we have one of our great boys in blue or ladies in blue posted up here so that they can observe all interactions with council and public and make sure that nobody is getting threatened, because to threaten a public official is a third-degree felony, and it comes with prison time, and anybody that does that deserves that. And then during the meetings, if you guys trust me to handle a meeting, if anybody gets up and runs, again, the guys should catch them before they get here. But if anybody is making those aggressive moves, the power of the gavel throws those people out, and that is why we read that at the beginning. If you are yelling or running from the audience this way, that's immediate removal, and I'm not afraid to use that power. Does that make sense? So those are my thoughts. Those are my comments on it. I think there is a way to mitigate what was happening, and also give the public access back to the council. Does that make sense? Those are my thoughts.
No, it don't make sense to me. You know, I'm realistic, I'm not rulistic as well. I'm saying that, and Carter hit the nail right on the head. If they're gonna get you, they're gonna get you, right? So let's put something in front of them that when they hit the barrier, at least I have a time to react. I done got old now. I done got a little bit old. I'm pretty good with my hands and with my feet. But the bottom line is, I'm afraid. For my safety, I want them to stay there or come up with another design. But I want them to stay there for my safety. I feel for Ms. Sykes when she's here. I fear for you. I feel for everybody that's up here. I don't understand why you don't feel the same way I feel. That's because you're pretty young and you're energetic and you could defend yourself probably. Well, when I was your age, I could probably do the same thing. But now, I'm just I'm in a position where I don't like to get into debates and people coming up there cursing the mayor, calling them names and calling Ms. Archer names, and we can't. I just can't see why we have to go through that again.
May I respond, Mr. Mayor?
Sure.
I don't understand.
But Mr. Jernigan, if I may, I'm not entirely sure the exact amount of years, but I believe this board operated in this room for decades without this. And because of a small number of people who want to attempt to intimidate us, I don't think that we should be throwing furniture around the place. I just don't understand.
Look, we can't move. I would like for this to be on the next agenda so that we can have a structural move forward from it. Does that make sense? All right. Anything else, Councilwoman Harris? We can't make a motion, otherwise we have to open up public comment and everything else.
Okay. The second one is, I got another phone call, Mr. Rosenthal, from Mariah's family. I was wondering, I know you explained it to me, but if you could reach out to them and explain the process to them so they would know. You
Yes,
know what I
ma'am.
mean? I think that would speak volumes to them.
We'll do that.
Thank you. That's something else.
Process for.
Oh, a DOT side, I'm sorry. For Mariah, the little 12-year-old girl.
And can I give an update on that? Ms. Harris, when I spoke to you, I was under the impression that this was a DOT road. This is our road. I've spoken with staff, but I can give you a better update at the next meeting, but we are looking into finalizing that sign.
Oh, all right. I just want something to tell her, so I don't have to.
And I'll reach out to her still.
Very good.
Oh, and I do wanna say this, I received a plethora of phone calls about the lights not being lit up at Sally Jesse. I don't know who's responsible for that. Sally Jerry, the park. I don't know who's responsible for that, but please, ma'am, and please, sir. You know, everybody wants to feel inclusive, and on certain parts of town that we're not feeling that. So.
All right. Right now, my comments,
I'm sorry, can I get one more before you?
one more comment, go for it.
This is, I'm hoping, I wanna say it tonight so the council can think about it. I think it's very imperative that we, take this into consideration. And I'm reminded after Councilman Jernigan talked about, delayed responses. And we have quite a few, tasks, agenda list that has not been, completed, has not been updated. We just have a lot of stuff that's still just, like my mama would say, irons on the fire, just burning up. And, I think we need to consider, I asked the question, is it too much for our attorney? Because we hired a firm, we didn't hire a one-man attorney. But it seems like it's all going into the lap of a one-man attorney. So if that be the case, maybe that's what we need, a one-man attorney. For the money that we pay out, an in-house attorney. So that way, we can go put our finger on him. Do you see what I'm saying? And I think we would get more for our monies if we had an in-house attorney. And I'm not saying that you're not the man. I'm not saying who the man is.
Mr. Mayor, I was just gonna request, if this is a conversation the council wants to have now, I was actually gonna ask for a bathroom break, because I'm about
No, we're not gonna
I'll
discuss.
reach my limit up
We're
here,
not
so,
gonna discuss
okay.
it. That's what I just said, but just for you all to think about it. And it be on the next agenda, hopefully. Is that okay?
That's fine.
Don't go nowhere.
Real quick,
Sorry about that, Michelle.
I'll try to be quick, and we'll see if anything turns into a discussion for Mike.
And Merry Christmas to everybody,
Yeah.
because we won't be back before.
That was my first comment is Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and Happy New Year to everybody. My second comment is well done. I want to give some attaboys for our November report. There was a lot of great things that you guys did in that. All the guys in the back row and the department heads that aren't here, you guys did a lot in November, and we appreciate you guys making us look good up here. Also, you made us look good in the parade, even though Steve was acting mayor on the parade as mayor of Whoville, whatever. For the new year, since this is our last meeting of the year, I want us to focus on a word as we come into 2024, because I think this is the right group up here to have this word that we're pushing, and that's excellence, and demanding excellence of ourselves as council members, and then recognizing the excellence that's happening from our departments currently and from our administration. I look forward to 2025 being a year of building a safe and proactive community, of us developing good housing models so that people around the state can look to us as we move forward, and then making our neighborhoods look good and feel good. I'm looking forward to doing all those things and much more in 2025. And one more thing, and this might turn into a discussion, hope not, because I think there was a lot of evidence that overwhelmingly would point in one direction. We had our delegation here this evening, and what I read out over the last 6 years, I read out $25 million worth of projects. And I would just like to point out that 922,000 of those projects were direct to our organization. And I would like to point out where the gap of that other $24 million is kind of lost. And that is with help in Tallahassee pushing our projects along. And so in my coming on, I asked Don to start researching opportunities of hiring a lobbyist, a good accountable firm that we could get regular updates on, that could help us not only move our agenda along at the state level, but also move us along with grants, recommend grants, because they would know our community well enough to do this. What this does, and maybe over the next 6 years, it saves our local taxpayer $24 million that we don't have to assess them in ad valorem taxes or other type of taxes, because we get it in good faith from the state and from the federal government. And I think that it's time that Lake City consider that. And I know that Don has shared that he has been approached by a lobbyist firm. If you'd like to share that real quick.
Sure. At your request, Mayor, we researched it and we talked to economic development for the county, and they referred us to several people. It resulted in an offer by Sunshine to represent us in Tallahassee to the tune of about $4,000 a month. I recommend that if we do that we do it for 6 months to see if they bring any value back for that, and then make a decision after that. But I really feel that having a lobbyist is a good idea.
Is that a level that you need our voted approval on?
I do need the voted approval.
Okay, so then what we would need to do is come back with, when are they suggesting that start?
As soon as possible. I was gonna start it in December, but if I have to come back to another board meeting, it's the following.
I honestly think December is when you want to do that, but again, help me out here, Clay.
So 1 month, actually a couple of months, would certainly be within the manager's authority to proceed on. But over the duration of the contract, if it were longer term, then it would require council action. So Mr. Rosenthal could do an interim contract to get them started pending the matter of coming back to the council for approval of a longer term contract at a future meeting, just for the purpose of getting them started this month, because legislative committees are already meeting.
Yeah.
Yes.
To belabor my point, they actually start meeting months and months before. We don't have any constituents in Tallahassee, right? But Tallahassee controls a lot of what we're able to do with our funds, and it controls a lot of relief that we can provide to our constituents, especially, do you have thoughts? A lot of what we can do to improve the lives and the quality of lives of our neighborhoods. So I think it's imperative, and it's time that we do it. I just wanted to check the temperature of the board. I know Clay's a bit of an emergency situation, so.
I'm hearing that the county has lobbyists.
They do.
Now, we have legal skills. Just tell me what the lobby is gonna do that the legal skill does not do.
They'll focus specifically on our projects. So we will have shovel-ready projects that we talked to them about. We have a lot of sewer repair that we need to do, a lot of water looping that would take, I would say that would take maintenance off of our cost sheet and make our water more profitable, a more profitable enterprise. There are things like that the League of Cities, they won't dive deep into our needs that will help us and our balance sheet. They'll push the overall overarching theme of what we take them as a group of cities, talk to the state about prevention of preeminence, where they can come in and make rules and impose them on us, of stuff like that. So they're going to do all the overarching things, whereas the details and the real nitty gritty and the money that would matter will be what our lobbyist is doing and pushing and making sure it's at the front, and it makes the first, second, and third cut of of the appropriations.
What I particularly don't like, finger pointing, just, you're gonna pick this lobby. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
I like giving people an opportunity, I like advertising.
me too.
So,
This is what I would suggest us do at this meeting, and it's not an official action, it would be a consensus based on what Clay said, just spurred my thought, is that we would come to a consensus of allowing our city manager to engage in a month-to-month contract with this lobbyist for the next 6 months. And then in that time, open an RFP for lobbying firms to gain our business for the next couple of years. Does that make sense?
that's giving one person the advantage.
We don't have the time for an RFP at this point.
We haven't had a
I know, and we've been down $24 million to $25 million for the last 6 years. So that would be, I'm for it, so I would be for it. The lobbyist was, I think it was of a group.
It's,
Sunshine.
if I can, Mayor, it's called a Sunshine Group. I talked to Columbia County's Economic Development about it, they referred me to somebody who referred me back to somebody else that was, ended up being in Newport Richey.
Mr. Mayor? Yeah. If I may, I really like that idea. I think you should send Carter up there and let him lobby for us. He is a very, very good lobbyist, and we don't have to pay him $4,000 a month.
I think we'd have to pay him more because we'd be replacing his full-time job with another
No,
it's a full-time.
Yeah, he'll be coming back to reporting and letting us know exactly what's going on. But on a more serious note, I think that that's something that is needed, and but we want to be fair about it. Go through the proper channels, and I guess procurement, and make sure we got all our ducks in a row. We don't want to just limit ourselves to somebody that I know, somebody or Carter knows, or Ms. Young or Ms. Harris. Get somebody that and it appears that the city manager has dialed in on a individual or individuals that's going to do a really good job for us. So I'm all in favor. If he's for it, I'm all in favor.
So some more context. I don't know this particular lobbyist. I've worked with a couple of the other organizations that have reaped some of these massive benefits here locally. I know they're lobbyists. None of them included in this. The reason why I think that we're at a critical timing and we don't want to lose this year of legislation, to speak to your concern, Vice Mayor Young, is one of the members being in his last election cycle will have a lot more influence at the state than we'll have probably again for another 8 years, especially at that level. He's party certified, done a lot of great things around the state, gained a lot of favors, and he'll be in a position to push our needs here locally and help his local communities out, which I think would be really great and could land us a lot of good money, again, to save our taxpayers. Chuck Brannon. Yeah, Chuck's in a great seat this year. He'll be in a great place.
Amy, we can talk to him.
Yeah, anytime, I would think that he would be one of the preferred people. You'll see more people from around the state visiting Chuck Brannon this year and next year to try to gain his favor and the people he's running with.
And Mayor, I was suggesting the 6 months trial because I can tell you exactly mathematically whether or not it makes sense based on what they generated, what they failed to generate in that time period. Right now, we don't know. It's just a guess.
And that would be December to May?
Yes.
So that would be from just before session to just after session, or just at sessions in.
Mr. Rosenthal made 1 or 2 phone calls and got this one man. What is it gonna hurt to make 1, 2, or 3 more phone calls and do a comparison? Instead of just choosing the one man.
If I may, I don't mind making more calls. I was trying to go because they said it was a sense of urgency. I don't mind calling more people.
I put it on him as a, hey, we need
They
this.
said it was an emergency.
So Brandon,
No, it's, Brandon's not involved with Sunshine. Brandon's our representative. Sunshine, I don't know Sunshine. They weren't my suggestion. They were a suggestion from Economic Development who deals with a lot of lobbyists in Tallahassee. Councilman Carter.
I haven't said anything about any of this yet. I think the lobbyist is a good idea, squeaky wheel gets the oil.
Absolutely.
Obviously, that's, I think the concept is a no-brainer. The couple quick questions I have, and man, Clay, I'm feeling for you, because you asked for a break
I know.
a while ago.
You'll get quick answers.
But I've also been told I talk too fast, so I'm trying to find a balance here. But a couple of quick questions I have, and this is just my ignorance on this, having not been here very long, so I'd have to ask staff, can we just hire someone? Is there not a mandatory process for opening a bid and so on and so forth? Because we approved tonight 2 different things where we had to set out the bid and then they had to give us one, we take the lowest. So can we just go hiring someone, or do we need to? And again, as imminent as the need may be, if we have rules, I'm trying to find out if these are rules that are being suggested that we violate, or if there's a way to do that.
So I would have to go and look at the very specific language of the procurement policy. There may indeed be a way to do something short-term without doing a procurement.
We do have Brenda in the back of the room.
And Brenda's here, and she and I regularly put our heads together. I certainly would welcome her thoughts on this.
Would love it.
Typically, there is a way to do something in a short-term and limited fashion. She's our subject matter expert, though.
And I'm not suggesting that we skirt around any rules.
No, I just want to make sure we.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
So I have 2 concerns. I think we should do an RFP to give an equal opportunity for everyone. And I also have a concern because it's not a budgeted line item. It's not currently budgeted.
So how long would that RFP process be?
30 days.
30 days.
We have to run the RFP for 30 days, and then an evaluation committee would determine who was the most responsive, qualified person for the job.
Well, Mr. Mayor, for me, I'm all in favor of the idea. I do think I understand, like I said, I get that there's an eminence to this, but for me, that's irrelevant. It's important to do it the correct way.
That's right.
And also, we need to discuss where we're gonna pay for it from. As she said, we need to make sure we've got the funds to do this, where it's coming from, and then, like, again, I'd like, if we gotta do it for fire extinguishers, we gotta do it for lobbyists, is my thoughts.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So I think we should proceed in that direction.
Councilwoman.
Mayor, don't look at me like that. I just want y'all to know it wasn't no squeaky wheel.
Listen.
All was thrown on the wheel and slid it this way. You can't.
I love the democratic process. Discussions are good. Discussions are good, and that's why we have them here. All right. So I guess we would like, look at me, everybody. We're in consensus that we want administration to run an RFP. And we will have well, between now and the next meeting's not 30 days, so 2 meetings from now, we will have a vote on hiring the lobbyist.
We'll have procurement get right on it.
And you'll have all the where we're paying for that from, and then if it's too much coming from somewhere that we don't want it to come from, we'll just say no.
Mr. Mayor and Brenda, please step in, but I don't think you would hear back from the RFP in 30 days. It would be allowing them 30 days to respond, and then there would have to.
It would be approximately 45 days altogether to do the evaluation committee and the RFP.
Okay, so you'd probably be looking at closer to the second meeting in February at the earliest to get a response.
We probably want to do it for a year's worth of contract.
Yeah, so Mayor, I think it'd be smart for us to figure out whether or not it's effective for us. And if we're gonna wait to 45 days, do we wanna even do it this year?
I think we go ahead and we do it as soon as we can.
Okay.
Because we wait till budget next year, so the legislature changes and they'll be in earlier, so by the time we make our budget next year, they'll have already started and be halfway through all their committee meetings.
Well, and the legislative budget process, keep in mind, starts in May, June for
May,
next
June,
year.
so even if we do wait and we're unable to effectively do anything this year, then we would have the ability and opportunity to do it in 2026.
Absolutely.
The 2026 process. But, so yeah, I think that we go ahead and do it as soon as possible, start planting those seeds, and then see if we get any fruit in 2026, which I believe we will.
Okay.
Have substantially more than 1/25 of the rebates. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Alright, look forward to that in 3 meetings. Alright,
Motion to adjourn.
in just a moment, upcoming dates of interest, January 20th, 2025, at 10 a.m. will be the Martin Luther King Day Parade, looking forward to that. Oh, sorry, we got a motion to adjourn, sorry. We have a motion and a second.